That's what I'm talking about. Welcome, Arvanauts. Welcome, everyone, to a Tuesday stream. It is 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Welcome to day 59 of Adventures in Middle-earth, Wilderland Adventures, The Watch on the Heath, as we move into the final chapter, believe it or not, the final chapter of Wilderland Adventures. I can't wait to get started on that, but before I get started on that, just a couple of reminders about ways to support the stream here on our Pleasant Little Arvanaut channel. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to follow the channel. That is always one of the best things that you can do. If you haven't already, please make sure to check out our YouTube channel where you can see past broadcasts of this and many other streams and campaigns. Exclamation point ArvTube for that. Exclamation point ArvCord will get you over to the Discord channel where you can hang out with the Arvanauts in between streams. And exclamation point ArvTweets will let you retweet this stream. Thank you for those of you who have done that already, but if you haven't, please, and if you have Twitter or social media, please retweet it and let's see if we can continue to broaden our appeal out beyond just our lovely Twitch community and get other people in here as well. All of that can be found on the website for this channel, which is arvaneleron.com. On the financial side, we've got the shop, exclamation point Arv Shop, which is awesome and is merchandise, including merchandise, which I will show off a little bit of today, which has some of Terry Toon's illustrations with the Adventures in Middle-earth material, and including, like I say, her illustrations for that, so you can get some AIME gear. You can also get some Infinity and Beyond gear over on the shop, and pretty soon we're going to have Esper Genesis stuff over there as well, so please go over there and check that out. Exclamation point Arv Treon is my Patreon. Super excited about how well that and the subs have been doing. The Patreon actually dropped a little bit off over the last week or so, so I'm hoping we can move back up the chain. We're sitting at 303. That really does make a big difference, and so I'm hoping that hopefully we can continue to broaden that out. You can get inspirations for the players. You can get one of my band's albums. You can get a professional critique of your writing. You can get an epic character background, which Coven Guy is going to be getting next. Oh, and an epic poem for Amal. I just remembered that I have that epic poem to read to her today. Very exciting. Okay, so anyway, I'll talk about that in a little bit. And last but certainly not least, of course, the sub button. We are currently sitting at about 47 subs. Would love to see that get north of 50 and beyond. Oh, no, that's terrible, Coven. Oh, gee, Coven, I hope she's okay. I'm sorry to hear that. That's terrible. Poor turtle. I hope she's okay. Anyway, what was I saying? Yes, so, again, that sub button right above that video window. Now, schedule-wise, we've got Adventures of Middle-earth, Wilderland Adventures. For those of you with inspirations, be warned, this is the last tabletop campaign that we have this month, because the next time that you will see me after this will be on Friday, which will be the 31st, and on Friday I'm doing some Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and then we're into the next month of February. So now's, use them or lose them, basically, today is what I would say, because they do not, as you know, go over into next month. Instead, they will be resetting. So please make sure to use them if you have them. The other thing I wanted to make, yeah, I hope so too, Coven. It may just be something temporary, but I'm sorry to hear that. That's really sad. I'm sorry about that. So yeah. I'm trying to think of what else I need to mention about that. I think, okay, yes, so schedule, right. So Adventures to Middle-earth coming up now, and then later on today at 4 p.m. Eastern over on GOG, I will be over there with a new game, not new for me entirely, but new in a long time, which is The Witcher 3. I'm going back into some Witcher 3 play. I finished up Return to the Obra Dinn a couple of weeks ago. We did D&D with GOG last week. So this week I am doing The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. So I'm returning to that game, which is going to be awesome. And that's going to be starting at 4 p.m. today. As you may have noticed, they're doing some stuff with the Lunar Sale and some of the stream team members, and one of your friendly neighborhood Arvanelorons may or may not be a Year of the Rat person. So anyway, you should stop by and see that. That's at 4 p.m. Eastern. And then, as I say, I'll be back again on Friday with some Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order as I move into the home stretch of that game. So that's what we've got going on, and I hope everything goes well with the turtle. Please keep us posted, Coven. But I am happy today to have us back here with the whole crew. And so I'm going to unmute myself so they know that we are ready to go as always. And then I'm going to unmute them. And then I'm going to head over there to the full crew. I don't know what to do with myself, people, because I've had the full crew for Infinity and Beyond. I've had the full crew for Esper Genesis. I've had the full crew for Adventures in Middle-earth. It's just like, it's just blessing upon blessing. Like, I just
don't jinx it.
Take it all in. I know, right? All of the screens go dead at once. I'm like, God damn it. But I am very excited to have the entire crew here. And yes, when I get to one person in particular, I have something that I'll be doing for them, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But let me start by first of all introducing all of these lovely people, beginning with the gentleman right below me on my screen, but not below us in our hearts, and that of course is our good friend Mr. Trendane Sparks. It'll come back around. You'll get it in an hour or so. It'll come back. That intro will come back to you. How are you, sir? How's life, and who are you playing today?
Still sleepy.
Still sleeping.
Yeah. But I have my shirt.
Oh, let me see. Wait, hold on. I gotta move the.
I have my shirt.
Oh.
Yeah, it's Tawny Bear.
With the crew on the back.
Yeah, with the crew on the back. That's right. Look how good that looks, chat. Don't you want that gracing your closet?
I will don it as everyone else talks for their introductions and whatnot. I just figured it would be easier to show off when it wasn't on me. Given
I did not think about that. So
no, but you have more space. It's easier for you to step back and kind of model yours. Anyway, yeah. Still waking up. But the sun is up now. So finally, Mr. Johnny Come Lately, like Gandalf and Bard. Yeah, hey, we're here. Where the hell were you 6 rounds ago?
What did we miss?
But yeah, I'm playing a big I'm playing this guy. This guy right here. I'm playing Tawny Bear, the Hearthminder, who is the only character who doesn't have any shadow points. The only human character who doesn't have any shadow points.
That's true.
I like the idea that perhaps your, partially animal nature has lent you some robustness in this regard, actually.
Plus, anyone who spends much of his time cooking honey cakes has got to be have a better outlook, just in general.
It's the honey cakes and the bacon.
Yeah, there you go. How could you have shadow when those things are part of your life?
Yeah. But yeah, he's a former jerk, and he's learned to basically be a pacifist and heal people instead of hurt people. Hurt some people, and jerks in wrapped up black claws are going, "Oh, prison of your own mind." It's like, piss off. You are going to be in so much trouble when that sun comes up. Why don't you come out of the shadow of this gatehouse you're hiding in? And then, many insults, and then getting stabbed by orcs.
Yeah.
But he made it.
And
he made it, and he is with us today, as also with us today. Although I don't know if he has his new awesome thing that Amal and to a lesser extent Terry. Although Terry had her own one of these things to squee over. Oh, there you go. See, he's going to pick. There you go. See. Wait for it. There it is. There it is. It is, ladies and gentlemen, the owner. Welcome to the owner of this cute little puppy. Hello, owner of puppy. How are you, Will?
I'm good. She's very playful right now. She's just woke up and she's got crazy puppy energy. But she's good. She's like a little parrot. She loves to sit on my shoulder. So and she's very good. She'll probably sleep for the whole stream once she gets off. But yeah, no, I'm good. I'm new puppy dad. Very proud new father, obviously, and also the player of Robar Staunton, who got a really good walloping last week or the week before last, but just about made it through the battle. Although, yeah, he had 2 death successes, 1 death save fail, so he was okay, but they were definitely going to get got. If it wasn't for Stone, a faithful hound, and so I decided to get my own faithful hound to protect me and guard me. So, yeah, he's looking forward to recovering and bathing in some glory, hopefully, for winning this battle.
Yes, which, as we were joking, was not exactly, I think, what people signed up for. Like, that's not you see Stone's drawing. That's not quite to scale, I think.
She's gonna grow. She's gonna grow.
Yeah. She'll get there. But anyway, very awesome to have her with us.
For the honor of Grayskull.
There you go.
All of them transform into something vaster.
It's true. We had a very long discussion beforehand of various aspects of Battlecat, how Cringer and Battlecat came to be and all this, and things that I did not know. So that was a lot of fun. But always a pleasure to have Will with us. Also, always a pleasure to have with us the other owner of a cute pet on this channel that has spent a lot of time talking about it. And that, of course, is Terry Tunes, who is here with us today playing a unicorn, apparently.
Yes, I am playing a unicorn. No, because as people might be able to see, I am not at home. So I don't have my usual Bard hat with me, the famous blue Bard hat.
Yes.
But I did have this thing with me, so because I went to a Gloryhammer show last Sunday and was wearing that there.
Was it good? How was it?
It was good. It was
good,
very
yeah.
good.
Okay.
It's a lot of fun. Except for that one guy who tried to pick a fist fight with my boyfriend.
Oh.
So that's a thing that happened.
Your boyfriend, I
But
assume.
aside from that, it was good.
Yeah, okay. You took him out. That was the end of that.
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
good.
like the friends of that one guy showed up. Were like, there, ignore him. He's always like that, and like dragged him out at the arms. So yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All in the glory of the hammering. That's good.
Yeah. So I am playing Inge, daughter of Ida, who is not a unicorn. No, she is a dwarf of the Erebor. She is a wanderer and a stonemason by trade. And she also has a trusty pony sidekick who hasn't been with her for the past few sessions because she was like, yeah, no, he's going to die.
Right.
So let's not.
But
just a little bit of meta gaming because I do not trust this DM with my horse.
I was gonna say now he's gonna get taken out of bubble wrap for this one because it's time that he's got to put his hooves on the line just like Stone put his paws on the line for his party.
Yeah, like the thing is that Stone is like a battle trained hound, while Lilleman is a pack pony whose only job is to carrying his stuff around. So
a pack trained pony, yes. Although
now
smart one.
She can also carry Inga's emotional baggage.
Oh. Yeah, well, as we said, emotional support pony, ESP.
Who would want to be saddled with that? I'm sorry. Podcast will be here all day. Thank you.
No.
Yeah.
Can I just say, is it okay if I just, wait, sorry.
Apparently not. It's not okay.
I'm sorry, I just have to let someone in. Excuse me.
Sure.
Hello?
Let me in.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi. Hello there. Hello there.
Oh, wait, don't hang up on me.
No, I mean, so like in order to be let into the building, people have to like when they buzz, it goes to my phone. So okay, they've managed to get in. I can hear it. This is very ominous. I'm just gonna get the door. I'm sorry.
Hello, I'm the Gimmick King.
It's coming from inside the house.
It's coming from inside the house.
Literally.
Welcome. Oh man. I don't have my bard. I'm not at home, so I don't have my bard hat. I did, however, bring my unicorn horn. Yeah, well, listen, you have to bring some important things, and like, oh,
I mean, that's my life.
That's the turtle. Oh,
what turtle?
The Coven's turtle that almost drowned, and he had to rescue, and so he just is showing her recovery room.
This is a very big book, probably.
So, assuming everything is okay and Amel's fine, then I will say I'm very happy to have Terry with us, and I can't wait. This is going to be a big session, couple sessions actually, for Inga meeting King Dane, but we'll talk about that in just a moment. Before we do that, though, I do want to have us talk a little bit to Amel. Hello, Amel. How are you? How is life in the universe? I get this vague sense that you also have a kind of a new thing that you're wearing. I can't help it.
Oh, this whole thing? Yes, it came in the post mysteriously, like everything does, and it is super great. Look at how good it is.
Yeah, woo!
My character, the river, as drawn by the most amazing Tari, and this is Stone, and this is the crew.
The crew. I am super excited, no joke, to have us and someday we will figure out a way to get us all together to do a live session of this. I just need to get a shirt designed that somehow has all of you on the front and the back. Like I can't be like pick one in the front. Like,
I think you should just be a mysterious flame on the front.
That's good. I don't want to be the eye because someone said, "Why don't you just?" I'm like, I don't want to be Sauron. Like I'm not gonna be. No, like I'm not. That's. Not me.
Aren't you supposed to be called like a lore master in AME?
Yes.
So something you could just be a book. You could just be like, you could have like the Adventures of Middle Earth book on the front,
slightly
or
opening
your face, like, or just like you opening the book. I don't know.
That's true.
It's like a level 20 author, just like became a book. Like it's not about making
Server of the
becoming one.
Fire. Yeah, there you go. So meta, I can't stand it. I will see about how we can do that. But how are you, Mel? How's life? And who are you playing today?
I'm okay. Term has been nuts, so I have been very, very busy, and I apologize for not being able to take the unfortunate vagaries of time and space and stream and time zones mean that this stream is now happening like literally in the middle of my workday, so it is difficult sometimes to not be working instead. But today, fortuitously or not, I have managed to hurt my foot, and so I am staying home this morning from the office and only going in to teach later. So I'm mixed. I'm delighted to be back for the aftermath of a truly emotionally harrowing session that I guess I missed, and so I'm very glad to be back. What else? Things are good generally. Other than that, super busy. I am leaning a lot on my own companion animals because Stu is away for a few weeks, so he's in the UK and I am by myself, which is a great time to suddenly like be limping around doing like less.
Yeah, good timing there. Yep.
Good timing. So it's all right. I'm just gonna be a little pathetic and miserable. I'm not actually miserable. I'm actually feeling very good. It's fine. I'm good. Everything is fine. But no, I'm really delighted to be back. I am going to be even happier, I am sure, when a thing is delivered unto me that was promised to me.
Yes, that is the case. Although, have you introduced your character yet or not?
This is the River. She is a woodsman of Rosgobel. She fights with axes, and she is a fighty bard. She's a warden. Who takes very seriously protecting the small folk of the lands and stuff, and is accompanied by her faithful hound Stone, who was the last member of the company standing last session apparently.
Yep, that's right.
Standing over her corpse for
unconscious body.
Her unconscious body. Actually, this is the thing I was gonna ask. Like, do you remember if because I can't tell because Will was rolling for me, did River actually fail any death saves?
I deleted I don't know because I deleted the saves, the death saves after the combat was over, so I don't remember. I know that I know Inga had one death failure. I think because there were a couple times where she could have, with a crit fail, could have just died. I think Robar may have had one. I think you had one failure at least, River. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, Tani, I don't think had. I think
had one success. Yeah, Tani had one success.
Yeah, but Tani went down, sort of later anyway, so there wasn't as much time. Whereas
I was the last human to fall.
Yeah, Inga was the Inga
not
was
a human
down. Different, but yeah, Inga went down. So anyway, yeah, I don't have it actually. I'm afraid I don't know, but I can go back and look later on. But this is the only time in the adventure, though, that all of the party members except for Stone were down. I guess theoretically, I could have just done a big spin-off adventure with Lillimon as played by all four people. Like, I mean, Lillimon is still alive, I guess. But otherwise, yeah, the party was very close to, and as it should be, because that was quite a battle that you were fighting. So
there was like some truly mediocre movie from the 90s. I think I can't remember what it was called. I want to say Soul Train, but I'm probably wrong. But it involves like people dying in a bus crash and their souls being like embedded in the body of a newborn that was being born at that moment. So this guy, as he's growing up, has like these four ghosts of these people who don't know why they're still around, and he has to like go around and finish whatever was left unfinished in their lives in his adulthood. So he takes turns getting like possessed by each of them and stuff in order to accomplish something. And I'm just imagining that scenario with Lillimon and the rest of us. And Lillimon just having to like go on an adventure to all of the different locations.
Lillimon just walking along. It was a dream, at various points. But anyway, it is a great pleasure to have Amal with us. And yes, as was mentioned, I do have something that I need to deliver as part of the support, which Amal was kind enough to give the Patreon. So she gave a Patreon and thus received the following epic poem. And so I had this actually done last week, just so this is here and ready to go. So. Here we go. An epic poem. Amal El-Montar, an epic poem. What sonnet, haiku, or zen koan, other forms would work here best? No easy task, no simple test to write Amal, a Hugo winner, an epic poem. Should I cite her many gifts in prose, her skills? Seasons of glass and iron filled her shelf with accolades and praise, enough awards to last for days of reading. Yet this feels too easy. Far too simple, just to please the people who want simple facts, because Amal is more than that. A PhD she's also seeking, review columns which she's tweaking, editing for journals too. What, that's not enough for you? Perhaps her harp you'd find germane. That's right, she plays, a bit insane these gifts Amal routinely shows. What, you want still more than those? Well then I give you her role-playing. Not impressed? Hey, I'm just saying a fighty bard with one big hound who fights to save her friends we've found to be compelling, brave, and strong. And maybe that's the point of this long recitation of her skills. The sum of all these parts could fill a book, yet they're in one, Amal, a poet, teacher, player, pal, who we're most glad to have joined with us. And so we say, now each one of us, for all the lessons she has taught, we're glad Amal's an Arvanaut.
Oh, very good.
That was beautiful.
Thank you, and I hope it passed muster, and I will send this along to you if you want Amal at some point.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yes, I would like it.
Thank you so much for the Patreon support.
My pleasure. I am delighted. I also was very excited to think, oh, hey, wait, that means I can inspire people this session.
That is true.
Yourself.
That's true. Yeah, not yourself, but anybody else.
Not myself, no, but who exactly?
Yep. And in fact, let's see. Yep, there you are. So, and that's the people that we've got left. Now, a lot of them, it's actually, the inspiration list is somewhat low because some of you might have blown a few on you guys a couple weeks ago as people were trying to keep you alive. Now make another one of equal length of the great epic poem, the Iliad. Listen, Coven, that's fine. When people start supporting me at, 50,000, I'll start thinking about doing epic length Iliad poems. But anyway, but no, thank you again for the support, and I will send this along. And I hope people enjoyed it, and I hope people are ready now for our moving into our recap of what happened last time. And it actually, we've talked about it a bit already, so there's not too much to say except that the Battle of the Selduin was epic. It took several sessions to go through, but the party did manage to hold back and repel the army of the Gibbet King. The arrival of Bard and Gandalf on the scene after the party had held them back did allow them enough time to cross the bridge and destroy the army that was there. But there were two things that came out of it that were troubling to all of you once you recovered from being unconscious. The first is that as you were sort of looking at the various kind of the aftermath of the battle, the Gibbet King himself, the cage, the cart, and of course the corpse from which he had been speaking, were all gone. Not found, not burned to the ground, no ash, just vanished. That was troubling. And also troubling was the concern expressed by both Bard and Gandalf that for all of the danger that this army posed, the arrival of Bard and Gandalf pretty much annihilated them. Now, part of that may have been the fact that the Gibbet King fell, but it still concerned them that the army wasn't even larger than it was, given the threat that it theoretically would have posed. In other words, there is concern about whether this was a fake, a feint, if you will, in one direction, leading to another. It's unclear whether that's the case, but at least for the moment, the battle has been won, and at least for the moment, the threat to Selduin and the rest of Dale and Erebor is turned back. And so we're going to jump forward a little bit to the party which has traveled north. And I will tell everyone in the party just quickly that everyone has had a chance for a long rest. So you have all of your things restored, basically, all of hit points, etc. The only thing that is not restored, and this is going to be a concern, obviously, going forward, are the shadow points. And so Inga is at 40 out of 40 hit points, but has does not have negative, has 6 shadow points, which, as she pointed out, of 10. So that's kind of scary. The river is currently sitting at 39 out of 39 with 4 shadow points. Robar is sitting at 36 out of 36. Sitting with 1 shadow point, and Tani is at 35 out of 35, who, as we said beforehand, probably because of the honey cakes, just doesn't have any, and bacon, has no shadow. He's fine. Like, he's okay. So 35 out of 35, 0 shadow points. Stone is back to 20 out of 20. He is his usual smiling puppy self, so to speak, or panting puppy self, I guess I should say. He is okay, and only Liliman's fate hangs in the balance. I'm just kidding. And Liliman, of course, is back at the Lonely Mountain, back at Erebor, where the party is heading now, or heading to Dale, I should say. So we pick up now when we are back in Dale, and you've had a chance. This is about a week after the events of the battle, maybe 8 or 9 days. Still an unease sort of is settled around the town of Dale. The warriors, I should say, are mostly recovered from the poison that they experienced. So the work that Tani did and the rest of the healers that he left behind with his instructions seem to have done the job and managed to heal those warriors. But there is still this great sense of unease because of the nature of the betrayal that was found and, what was sort of discovered as a consequence. And as the party is sort of sitting in Dale, sort of trying to decide what is going to happen next at this moment, a person comes into the inn where the party has been staying and knocks on the door to be entered. And as you open the door, you see that it is a dwarf wearing a gray hood. And Inga, the dwarf, comes over to you. He acknowledges all of you, but he comes over to you specifically and bows low. And he says, "You must be Inga, daughter of Ida, I'm told."
Yeah, and who are you?
I am Ori. I'm one of the original companions of Thorin Oakenshield. And so as you now I would say that you've never actually seen him face to face, but you sure as hell know the name. And so when you say it, you're like, I don't know what you say, but
actually, if this was a cartoon, her jaw would drop onto the table the Mask style, from the Jim Carrey movie. And she so I'm assuming we're eating or something?
I assume this was after breakfast, so you're just kind of in the room, kind of deciding, kind of relaxing. A lot of you have been sort of recovering from shock, I would say, after what you went through, but it is a few days now, yes.
Okay, so then Inge fastly stands up obviously looks super startled, she was super chill a second ago. No, she's like, whoa, what's happening? Okay. And then bows down, of course, a little bit lower than he bowed down because that's a respectful thing to do.
Right.
And then is Ori, it is an honor to meet you. Please sit. Okay. Do you want something to drink?
Not necessary at this time, thank you, but I appreciate the offer. And he sits down. The cloak that he's wearing is very travel-stained and looks quite old, Inga. And he's sort of, you can see that it has sort of slashes in it and kind of rents and notches in the side of it. Not recent ones, but ones that clearly have been in this cloak for a long time.
Sorry, the stupid cuckoo clock.
That's okay.
Oh, that's a fun one. I kept hearing a chime.
Sorry, can you repeat that? Completely threw me off.
He says, yes. He says, well, actually, I don't think I gave you a lot. Yeah, I was just describing that his cloak was filled with these notches and rents and holes and things like that, and that they look very old. So these are not recent. They look as if he's, this cloak looks like it's been through a few things. And as he sort of sits back, you can see that his beard is very well combed and kind of, obviously has been well treated. It is not travel stained as opposed to the cloak. And he sort of
bomber.
Yeah, exactly. And he says, in response to your offer for drink, he says, "No, it's not necessary, thank you, but I appreciate the offer." And he sort of looks around at all of you and he says, "I must say, I was told about the kind of reputation you'd built for yourselves, but you outdid yourselves in Selduin."
Sorry, is your cat purring?
Yes, that's exactly what that is.
No, don't leave.
No, I just put her on the other side so that she's not directly next to the mic. Sorry.
This one's snoring.
Are you purring at me? Because
Also point out we all have black and white animals.
No, she isn't black and white. She's like white, gray, and beige.
Oh, I can't tell from the yeah. Well, okay. Well, Will and I have black and white animals.
Okay.
Black and white.
But
Sorry.
yeah. So Inga like sits back down. Just like, so what brings you here?
And he kind of looks around and says, "I've been sent by King Dane himself. He has matter for a council, and he'd like to speak with you under the mountain. Coming here would be somewhat dangerous, especially given recent events. And so we'd like you to come back to the mountain itself."
Well, that was the plan anyway. But yeah, any specific time I need to be there, or?
He says, "No time like the present. In fact, I've brought horses and ponies outside. You're needed soon. Some dangerous news has come to Dane's ears, and he would speak to you of it."
All right, then.
What kind of news?
I'm gonna go talk to my companions, if that's all right with
Well,
you.
you are all sitting there. So I mean, he came to you, but you are all sitting there. So you could, if you want to sort of quietly ask him to just wait, you can do that for sure.
Yeah, basically she, after she said that, she stands up and waves her friends over. So,
was it dangerous news?
Yeah, we have to basically leave immediately ish to go to the mountain. Also, my cat is eating my headset. That's nice. And he's waiting with horses, and I guess I have to go now, and I would be happy if you guys would come along, but if you guys can't, I would understand. And then she throws a glance towards Trendane.
Right.
Not Trendane, towards Tawny, sorry.
I was like, when did I get
that?
What fourth wall?
as Tawny and I just kind of look at each other like,
don't much
Are you
like
talking
the
to
look
me or my shirt?
don't like the cut of your jib. Okay. Go ahead,
Tony. River is. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Never mind.
I was going to say, I would very much like an oath from everyone that when we're done with this, we actually get to take a break.
Yeah, good to me. I like breaks.
A what? I'm sorry. What was that word?
I can take a half day maybe on next year.
I'm not sure I understand. Do you mean something that is not running into battle a lot?
And dire news coming from afar, that sort of thing.
There's never any good news from afar, is there? We need to work on that.
But
Always
yeah,
grim.
Tony, like I said to you some time ago, if you want, we can go take one of the side entrances and you can just stay with my family the entire time. Don't need to go amongst people. If you would prefer that.
It's not... It won't be a... No, it's fine.
Is it? Is it really?
We'll find out.
Okay.
We're sort of pats Tawny's back gently for a sec, and says, of course we're going with you.
Thank you, guys. Well, in that case, let's go get our things.
And somebody watch this bacon while I'm gone.
We already had breakfast.
River's like,
Still
what
making
second
bacon.
breakfast?
I'm still making bacon. We got to take bacon with us.
No, that bacon is done. Look, it's wiggly now. That's when you eat it.
No.
Oh, no, here we go.
So Ori waits as you all gather stuff up, and he says, I can smell the sizzling from here. I see you're doing it the right way. Can't wait to bite in with a good crunch.
Well, that's going to take a little while. This bacon is extra thick, but since you say we have to leave immediately, you get none.
And he sort of bows his head and he says, always just a little bit too early. It's unfortunate. Perhaps if you've ever had some bacon from the forge of the true king under the mountain.
I've never run into that problem myself, Ari.
And he sort of looks over and kind of, yes, I see the joke that you're making, lad. He seems underimpressed.
I'm just like imagining River standing there like, what are they talking about? I don't get it.
Yeah, it's like, I have to say, having River be a vehicle for my extreme delight and joy at every reference does have to, I think, stop at some point. So I'm going to say that she is extremely keen on all things like elves, but not so knowledgeable about the dwarven companions of Thorin Oakenshield and stuff. So she's like, what? Well, I'm going.
I
Okay.
was more referencing the Lou joke he was making.
What?
Lou joke.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, because, River has a girlfriend, so she doesn't know about these things.
I missed that joke completely.
Oh, you were like completely in character the entire time.
That's
Never
great.
mind.
Are we really going to go back and explain it all now?
I'll watch the VOD. It's fine.
So Ori waits as you all gather your things and then leads you down to where indeed there are several strong-looking ponies and horses. And he says, and I hope you didn't mind, but they said it would be all right if I brought him. And Inga, you can see that with the ponies is a very fine-looking Lillimon. Now, you had not yet seen Lillimon because you had been basically trying to recover yourself, so you hadn't had a chance to go all the way up to the mountain where he had gone. But Lillimon comes over immediately and nuzzles, his nose in your hand and seems very, actually, kind of, sleek and well cared for, and seems like he's been at the pony spa. Everything has been good for him. So he does not.
A few
have
wee
this
braids in
experience.
his mane.
Beards in his mane, exactly. And Stone, of course, comes over and kind of nuzzles Lillimon as well, because of course they get along really well.
But yeah, Inga, of course, goes to hug and pet Lillimon and like, oh, he's a good pony, and all that kind of jazz.
Stone runs up and wags his tail and snuffles at Lillimon's and licks Lillimon's snout and is nice.
Yeah, and Lillimon kind of, I would assume bumps, into Stone with his head and all that. So,
oh God, you taste like bacon. Oh.
Exactly. And Ori waits patiently as this reunion takes place, and then as you all get up onto various horses and ponies, he leads you off at a fairly good pace. And as you head off out of Dale, on the road that leads to the Gate of the Lonely Mountain from Dale, on your way you pass many dwarves which are returning home from the battle. You see a lot of injured and sort of dwarves with cuts or wounds or bandages, kind of limping along, being helped by others. Some of them you also see busy at work on the ancient road that leads between the two cities, which has some breaks in it, you notice. In particular, Inga, you notice. And your dwarven folk are hard at work on trying to get the thing back up and running and working again. And before too long, you reach the great cliff wall where the river Running springs out of the mountain. and leaving the mounts there because they can't go all the way down into that area, but leaving them in the same stable where presumably Lillimon was taken care of before. Two dwarves, hurry over to kind of brush them. Lillimon immediately kind of recognizes them, you can tell, because he kind of, like, when he sort of begins to bump them in the way that you know from many years is the sign for please give me sugar cubes when he sees them, and they immediately, immediately comply. And so as you are led into the mountain, Inga, this, I imagine for you, I will be interested to know how you feel about it as you're going through it. All of what I'm about to describe will seem familiar to you, but none of the rest of you have ever been inside this place. And in the front gate, there is a maze of these wide passages and high chambers and halls. And inside the dwarven fastness, there is a veritable army of craftsmen hard at work, up and down the walls on scaffolds, all with hammers and chisels. And the corridors are literally just echoing with these sounds as hammering and chiseling continues to go on, as more digging and reinforcing and things like that continues with the mines as they enter. After a while, hey Dot, hello everyone, good to see you all. After a while, the companions lose count of the downward stairs and sloping passages that you've passed, and you know simply that you must be deep in the roots of the Lonely Mountain. Inga, I'm curious how you are acting and feeling as you go down in this area, by the way.
Inga doesn't actually have any particularly bad memories about this place. It's more she lived here for a few years, after her husband died and her family moved here and everything. So it's not like this brings up any particularly bad memories, more like that she's admiring how things have changed since then, because it's a work in project, the whole place.
Yep. After
being abandoned for so long, you can't repair that place in a year or two. So she's basically pointing out, and it's hey, I helped build it, repairing that thing, and that wasn't there last time I've been there, while they were walking, going up these stairs and stuff like that, and basically
nice buildings. Looks good.
Yeah, they're not bad. And she's yeah, I know they're amazing, but you wouldn't say that.
Flicks hair.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, they I should point out too that for those of you, because I don't believe, unless I missed something, that any of you have ever been well inside a dwarven fastness, you caught the faintest glimpse of what dwarven work might have looked like from the inside when you were at Mountain Hall, but it's, a pale shadow of this, which has been worked on by dwarves for literally centuries, and then again now since the falling of Smaug. These high vaulted ceilings, the you see inlaid stone with what looks like threads of gold that have been inlaid into the side of the walls. And as you go by, some of you, I would say probably, well, certainly Inga knows this, but I think all of you, as you sort of pass by, as you see this glinting of the gold, note that in some places it looks as if it's been threaded in, but actually it looks like in some cases these are actual veins of gold which have been cunningly worked by the dwarves to make them actually fit with the rest of the wall. It's extraordinary, and the torchlight glints and sort of reflects the sounds as well, reflects in visual form the sounds of the echoing hammers and chisels as you go down. At one point,
it's just oh yeah, this is nothing. Wait till you see the throne room.
At one point, you pass a large chamber, and there's a moment where all of you feel a momentary chill. And you feel a little bit of a weight, kind of, not just the weight of being this far underground, but another little weight kind of pass over you. And as you look over, you can see there is a vast chamber. And in that vast chamber, you can still see some piles of gold and silver. And Inga, you know that this was the chamber where Smaug lay atop his fabulous hoard. There is something of the dragon that still lingers there. There is a trace of sulfur and greed and heat that will never completely be washed away. And there's a sort of moment where, you see that, and you can kind of imagine a little bit about what it must have felt like for all of them experiencing it, especially the original companions. And even Ori himself, who is still leading you, of course, at one point pauses and kind of looks over and then shakes his head grimly and then continues to move on down the passageway. As you're led past that hall down into deeper tunnels, you come to a place where Smaug clearly could not be found. First of all, the burden of that place lifts. You don't smell his foul stench anymore. And beyond that, these tunnels probably would have been too small for him to be able to get down there. And there was no gold necessarily down here as well. In fact, you heard many stories, Inga, about how in many of these cases, the tunnels were small enough that Smaug could not get into them, but neither could the dwarves get out of them without being devoured. And so several workers that were down here and trapped when he first came in ended up just starving to death. And so there is sort of sadness and death everywhere here, although there is also, again, the working and rebuilding of something new. And so those kind of conflicting feelings and sort of sights confront you as you walk by. Finally, you are brought to this enormous stone door, which is marked with dwarf runes. And he pushes it open and bows low and then walks forward and leads you into what you know is the chamber of Mazarabul under Erebor, the chamber of records of the dwarves of the mountain. And inside the wide rectangular hall, on top of a throne standing above this stone throne, on top of these steps, sits King Dane himself. Now, the throne room, which Inga promised you, is no joke. I mentioned these vaulted ceilings before. There is that here as well. But behind the throne itself are two crossed hammers, which have been placed here and sort of reconstructed in the way that they would have been in the time of Thror, the grandfather of Thorin Oakenshield, when he was the true king under the mountain. And these crossed kind of hammers that lie up, that stand above that throne, both glow kind of reddish gold. Torches line all of the walls, and yet these torches seem to, although they flicker, don't seem to be dripping any pitch. It's as if the torches are lit and yet never go out. And there are rows of dwarven guards, their beards plaited and thrust into their belts, holding heavy mattocks that stand flanking the stairs that lead to the throne, 5 of them on each side. And King Dane is on the top as well. A crown of mithril glitters on King Dane's head, but on his feet he still wears the iron-banded shoes of a miner. And as you sort of walk up slowly to the steps, he looks down upon you. And there's a moment, of course, where you are all aware, even those of you who don't know anything about the dwarves, that you are looking at perhaps the greatest warrior of the line of Durin in this age of the world who still lives. And he looks down upon you, and next to him you see there is a another dwarf who's standing there, whose white beard stretches down to the floor. You're not familiar with this one, but he's there, and his beard is down there, but you're not familiar with him. You don't think you've seen him before. And both dwarves and the sort of accompanying silent dwarves are there, but Owen comes up to the very foot of the staircase and then bows low and says, "My liege, I've brought them as you wished." And then he bows again and sort of backs off to the side of the stairs. And King Dane and the other dwarf who's standing next to him kind of just looks down at you. Now, this is where we're going to be doing an audience, folks. And so we're going to start here with someone introducing the party with a traditions check or intelligence. I will leave it to you as to whom you want to be the person who introduces you.
Yeah,
Although
I think it
guess.
makes the most sense to have Inga do that.
Yeah.
Would be really weird if somebody else would be doing that.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. Yeah.
So good to be back again. Hello, everyone.
Okay.
So traditions, yes.
Yes.
Do I get like any modifiers because I'm a dwarf or something?
So because you have a favored status, it means that your difficulty levels will be lower, I'll basically say. So you're getting a benefit on that side.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Sure.
Is there a map for where we are?
I don't have one.
Not one you're allowed to see.
Well, I do have the Lonely Mountain Region Guide, dun, dun, dun. But I don't actually know if they've got a map for this in there. I have a map for after this, and when we get to the Erebor Adventures.
That's all good. I just remembered you mentioning you were uploading new maps, and I wasn't sure if I was just not seeing it.
No, not that one. There's another one that I've got that's going to be there as well.
we all die.
Well, They haven't. They actually have a really awesome one, but I can't show it to you yet because it may play into a future adventure. So, so I can't. Well. Yeah.
But yeah,
I don't have
kinda
anything of
did
that
not roll
chamber.
great.
It would be sort of air, but you know what? Yeah. Let me
Just
I
use
don't-
your,
let me just put it on stream.
imagination.
It's all right. Let me put it on stream because I won't do it for Roll20 right now, but I'll put it on stream. It'll be quick. So let's see. Okay, good. That's that one. Oh, not that one.
I'm having a tea malfunction this morning.
Well, I mean, you did make your tea in the microwave, so.
No. Barbary. No, I made
But
my.
like you said earlier, you were like,
You're going to nuke your tea.
I
yeah,
was.
that means you put it in the microwave.
Yeah, I heated it up again in the microwave. That
Yeah,
is-
that is just as blasphemous.
No, not at all. That's just like how. I mean, how else would you heat it up once it was already perfectly brewed, according to the correct methodology? Once
With a
it's
candle?
what?
Candle?
Yeah, like you have like these little things, you put a candle and then you put like your tea kettle on it, and then the tea doesn't go cold. Don't you have these in America?
Oh, like a heating, like a
Like a heating.
pad or whatever they call it, like a heating thing.
I mean, I would love to have such a device, but I actually, for complicated reasons, I can't actually light candles in this apartment right now.
Oh yeah.
But that aside, the microwave is a perfectly competent way of reheating something that you have brewed previously with
Will,
100-degree water boiled in a kettle that actually has degrees on it.
Will,
She
I
goes
need your
to Will.
professional English
Yeah, weigh
opinion
in
on
on this, I
this.
guess,
Brewed tea.
what I don't drink tea. I don't really like it. But my parents will have just a kettle and then like the cozy on the kettle, keep that warm. And they don't nuke it. They wouldn't do that. But
so I've just placed a map on stream, not on Roll20. I will do that later. But you can see some of this is actually from the Lonely Mountain Guide, so you can kind of get a sense of it. So the front, I wish I could zoom in a little bit further, but the front gate is basically, maybe I can zoom in a bit.
That is a huge bird, by the way.
Yeah.
For a very
Perspective.
tiny mountain.
Well, yes, the power of perspective. Okay, so this number here, 7, you can see right in the middle there is the river running, basically right in the middle of the screen. And then as you go up, we have, hold on a second while I open this up myself. Zoom in. Okay. Yes, then we've got, then we've got one there. So then we have the front gate, is this area that I've just put in the center of the stream now, basically right at the southern wall of the mountain there. And then as you go further in, you get to the great chamber of Thror, which is basically, if you just followed it straight ahead, the next number that you can see after that is the great chamber of Thror. And then right around, let's see, I think that's number 5, right? Yes, number 5, which is the one, if you go, basically if you were to go directly northeast from the chamber of Thror, so front gate, then you get to the chamber of Thror. If you go directly northeast of that first number that you come to is the chamber that I'm talking about that you're in right now. So it's pretty crazy, and they actually have it all broken down in terms of like, if I could zoom in even further, you'd be able to see like all of the little areas and kind of rooms and stuff like that. There are probably hundreds easily that are kind of superimposed on that map. So as I say, in future adventures, we may use that in more detail, but that gives you a little bit of a sense of it. Okay. So I'm going to move that over there. I'll put that right there so we know where we are. Cool. All right. And, all right. So have you done you've done your check. Okay. So a 10. So let's see.
Without the favor bonus or what you called it.
Right.
You needed a 30 because he's in a grumpy mood today.
Like the thing is, Inga is like terrible at doing stuff like this, so this is very much in character.
like,
so I'm fine.
Yeah,
with rolling, like,
exactly.
Yeah,
I was gonna
so,
say like the only way I could imagine like River like being at all an introducee person here is if she was super like subordinate to Inga and was like, you know, here I am, herald of Inga and stuff like that. But I think genuinely she's also like extremely overawed by everything right now, and it was like all I could do to stay quiet while you were describing things and not just have her go, and we walk through fields of gold.
There you go.
But, yeah.
So the result. So again, this is all stuff that will be calculated as time goes on in terms of success failure. It's not like he goes, no, you failed your check. Like you have no idea. But he kind of waits. What do you actually say to him, Inga?
So like Inga walks up and then like bows down like a bit clumsily as she do. Because she's also a bit overwhelmed. Like, yeah, she has seen King Dine before, but like only from afar. Like when he like probably was like having one of his speeches to the workers or something like that. Yeah, she's a bit starstruck, and then she's like she bows down and like waits to be spoken to, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he kind of looks for a moment, and there's a long silence, and then
when Inga bows, River will also basically follow her lead, and if the other two are not bowing, like she will sort of try to catch their eye and be like,
he'd bow, yeah.
Okay.
Tony's just picking his nails. No, he
So he waits, and then he says, Inga, daughter of Ida, I believe.
And with that, like Inga comes up again, and it's like, yes, Your Majesty, that will be me, and I'm in here with my companions, and like one after the other. It's like, this is River of Woodland Hall, and this here is Robar Staunton. And like, yeah, she's like actually like stammering a little bit because she's not used to
the woods is where
the
Robar is from.
Of the shrubbery.
King of the Upper Vale. And this year is, and like she looks at Toddy and is like, oh shit. Like she's just like has his face at him like, oh my god, am I allowed to introduce him, or is he gonna murderize me if I tell the king who he is? And he's just waiting for like a reaction from Toddy.
Toddy just kind of looks down and nods.
And this year is Toddy Bear from of the Bjornings, Your Majesty, at your service.
And Dane sort of nods slowly, and he says, I'm glad to see a group of this kind together again. Especially in times of this nature, it's best that we work together as much as we can. And I'm grateful to all of you for having done what you could to save us. I am told without you, Erebor might well be overrun already. You're to gain credit for all of it, and I'm thankful. He speaks with this very kind of raw, gravelly voice. You can almost imagine him sort of having worked in the mines, type of voice for a long time. Hoarse maybe from many years of shouting over the din of hammers and picks falling. And he sort of waits for a moment, and he says, I wish that I were bringing you here simply to celebrate your accomplishments. But it's not the times that we live in, I'm afraid. Instead, I have some serious matters to attend to, and it seemed clear you were the ones to deal with it, though I know that rest is something that you all deserve. But unfortunately, the times is not ours to decide, only what we do with it, I suppose. And he sort of looks down and waits and says, I must ask, though, before we start. I believe I can trust a dwarf, especially one of your reputation. But for the rest of you, though I know something of the power of the Bjornings, I saw firsthand what they could do at the Battle of Five Armies.
And
I'm-
Tawny just winces.
Yeah,
His
exactly.
face just goes like completely white. Like,
Yeah.
And he says, and I know the power that the Dunedain possess, even if they do it in the shadows. There may be a time where their ancient lineage is restored. And, of course, there is something to be said for the bravery of the woodmen of Woodland Hall and elsewhere. I hope Roscobel stands as strong, Radagast his beard, as long as it ever was. For all of you, I know that you're brave folk, but you're not dwarves. And so I must ask, something which you are under no obligation to accept. What we are about to talk about here, in the ancient chamber of the dwarves, must be kept between us and among us only. So I must ask you to swear an oath that you will not reveal the secrets of the dwarves, anything about which we may tell you this day. I do not wish to be suspicious, but the suspicion comes honestly.
River says, we are here because of our sworn friendship with Inga and our support of any endeavor that she undertakes. And on that friendship and on my axes, I will swear this.
He nods and he sort of turns impassively to Robar.
Likewise, I swear to you, none shall know of it, aside from these in these halls today. You have my word.
And he nods, and then he turns last to you, Tawny. Perhaps it's just your imagination that his gaze lingers slightly longer on you.
And Tawny still is kind of staring off to the side. Not quite like he's not paying attention, but he's thinking about something else. And he just eventually, the echoing silence kind of finally gets through, and he just looks up like, you have it.
And he nods and he says, thank you. And for you, Inga, he turns back to you. I will not ask you to take that oath, because your heritage binds you to it as surely as your friend's words do. But I would ask you to remember, you are one of us, and as one of us, you have a responsibility to maintain us here, what we were and what we are.
Of course, Your Majesty. I understand.
And he sort of nods, and then he looks over and he says, this is my greatest sage, named Munin. He knows much of the ancient lore. And Munin sort of bows low and says, I am sorry that I cannot be Balin for you. I know that you're disappointed. But
No, I'm just like,
I'm just kidding. You shouldn't say that.
I'm just like, I see what you did there, naming that guy. Like, I just see what you did there. He's like the lore keeper, and his name is Moonin.
Uh-huh.
Like Odin's raven.
Oh.
Also, I have only one eye, and no, he doesn't.
Yeah.
I was, as soon as I said Balin, I was like, wait, no, isn't Balin chilling in Moria right now? So I was like,
Yep.
no, probably not.
But
I'm gonna assume this is Balin's cousin thrice removed.
probably,
you know,
yes.
The number
But
of letters removed from Bal to Mun.
and he nods sort of solemnly, and then back to Dane. And Dane says, last year we received the visit of 2 merchants from Lake Town. They bore letters of introduction from the Master of Esgaroth, and they gave their names to us, names that perhaps you might know. One of them was named Bannock, and the other, his brother, Lockmond. And he pauses and sort of waits and kind of like looks at you as if to see if there's recognition or not.
Oh, there he is.
Wait, remind me who Bannock
That does ring a bell, but it's been a
That's
6
like
months or so.
the Bandit King dude, right?
I thought the Bandit King was Vol.
That was Vol.
No. Bannock
No,
was...
Bannock is the dude who poisoned everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's
yes.
Snake Bro, yeah.
Right.
Snake
I
Bro.
wasn't there for that session, so that is
Yeah.
why I have no memory of it. But
Yeah.
I have no excuse.
Bannock was the snake bro, but I don't suppose I have to remind everyone who Lockman was.
Lockman was a traitor dude who, right?
And apparently Bannock's brother.
Ah!
So, nice family.
Did he know that when Bannock
No.
poisoned everyone?
No.
Okay, so and River's eyes will just like light up like as on fire, and just be like, "Oh, I see treachery runs in families."
Aye, treacherous beasts as it turns out, but we did not know at the time. They had treasures to trade with us, and one in particular that we could not refuse. It was a shield that once belonged to Thror, the grandfather of Thorin Oakenshield himself. The shield had passed from Thror to his son Thrain, and it was believed lost since when Thrain disappeared in Mirkwood 100 years ago. But Bannock and Lockman claimed to have bought the shield in a market in the far south. Probably falsehoods and lies, but at the time, we could see only the return of our heirloom of our house. In exchange for the shield, Lockman wanted payment in gold, and a fair price was arranged. He also asked, as a favor, for a look in our records. He claimed to be a buyer and seller of treasures and relics, and he hoped that the old books might contain useful information to him. But we do not let foreigners easily in our chamber of records, and we deliberated for some time before finally refusing his request. And he kind of looks over to Munin, and Munin says, I am the keeper of records here under the mountain. One night I was awoken by strange sounds coming from the hall of Mazarbul. I descended to investigate, and whatever it was fled before I could see it. I searched the vaults, but found nothing amiss, and then I soon forgot the matter. And you see him, he kind of hangs his head in shame. He says, The truth is, I was not diligent enough. One book was out of place, and I did not notice. It was only when news reached the mountain of Lockman and Bannock's treachery in Dale that I recognized the name and made a fuller search of the vault and found out what happened. And he reaches down, and there's an iron-bound case next to him, which he opens. There's like, and pulls out of that case a large metal-bound book. And he places it on a small table, which is actually, let me put that a different way. There's a table that's sort of to the right of the stairs. So I think rather than having you all come up and come down, he's going to come down the stairs and put the book on the table in front of you. All of you can see that the book is obviously extremely old, but the dry air of the vault seems to have preserved the parchment almost perfectly. And the record keeper, as he opens the book, you notice he's handling the pages like, very carefully, like just sort of carefully tilting over, not pulling or ripping or stretching or, just
putting on some gloves.
Yeah, he's like very sort of cautious about it, right? And this book is one of a great many similar records detailing the buildings of the works and fortifications of the kingdom under the mountain. And this particular volume describes a watchtower that our folk built in the Grey Mountains to the north. Its purpose was to keep a watch on the withered heath and send a warning south with one of the great worms that live there threatened across the mountains. No dwarf living today knows if the watchtower was attacked by Smaug before he came to Erebor, or if the warning came too late. But in any event, as far as we can tell, the watchtower has been deserted for many decades. And apparently, we were not the only ones with interest in it. And he kind of flips over and shows you, and you see in the middle of the book, there is a page which has been cut out of it. And you can, as he's sort of showing you this, you can see his hand is almost trembling, maybe from anger or grief or something. And he says, This was taken, but you can see for yourself what it might have contained. And it looks like from what you can tell very quickly, Inga, just sort of looking at it, the leftmost page seems to be referring to this watchtower that they were talking about. At least it's referring to a watchtower near the Withered Heath, etc. And then on the right side, it refers to watchtowers elsewhere. And on the other watchtowers, you can see next to them that there are maps there. There is no map here, which suggests pretty clearly that what he did was take a map of this watchtower, if you had to guess, based on the order of the map. And Munin says, Yes, probably a map, we assume. A map of the watchtower itself. I'm curious how any of you are reacting to this one way or the other.
River is horrified at any desecration of a book because her culture is mostly oral, and the idea of books as books are like these sacred relic things of which there are few, and the idea of someone harming one is something like that she feels like an actual wound. And so she, like, when she sees that page, she actually like recoils slightly. But she also finds herself asking, actually, maybe I should ask this first, just in case this is too obvious a question. Aren't watchtowers usually simple fortifications that don't need maps? Or is it like a map to the watchtower?
No, I was about to say, when's the last time you were inside a dwarven watchtower?
Right.
Because you're right. Normally they would be simple fortifications, but nothing the dwarves build is ever simple.
Right.
Especially at the foundations. Now, you don't know how big, or I mean, this probably isn't like some fortress, but it probably is bigger than your standard just
It's like a
lonely
massive
watchtower.
theme park.
Yeah, exactly. It's dwarf Disney, you know. Like
Okay. Like, is that
Saruman's like, maybe I should choose that one.
I like that better. Yeah.
Right. So River will say, I've never known of a watchtower to need a map to navigate. What purpose would taking this serve?
And he sort of nods and says, Munin says, undoubtedly, this is a place that would have led us not just to the watchtower, a map that goes there, you might say, but also what would be found underneath it. The watchtowers in that place had to be somewhat more complex because of what they guarded. A dragon, after all, would not be held back by anything we could build, as, and he kind of glances around this room, as we all learned to our cost some years ago. And so we had to build things carefully and secretly. And the ancient dwarves, looking at this place, placing one here in the Grey Mountains, that probably is a place of no certain strength. The Withered Heath, I don't know if any of you have been to it. It is not a joyful place.
No, I don't think my travels ever took me there.
And Dane says, indeed, I have walked on it. It is a grim memory, and I would not willingly revisit it unless I was forced to. Even some of the darkest places of Mordor would not hold for me the terror of that crushing evil that lures and looms over the place. And yet, it has always been our destiny, it seems, to look upon the places of darkness and to see them before any of the other races of the light do. And he kind of pauses as if he's kind of remembering things, and then he says, in any case, we do not know why this merchant sought an abandoned watchtower. We don't even know if the theft that Bannock committed has anything to do with the recent attack on Dale. But I sent a raven north to look for and investigate the watchtower, and the bird has not returned. I worry that danger still hangs over Dale and the mountain. You have defeated the army, but the threat, I fear, still remains, and somehow this theft and the watchtower is tied to it. And he pauses and kind of looks down, and Munin sort of looks over and clears his throat and says, the king has sought the counsel of others, and I concur that we must have all wise folk who will aid us now. What counsel might you provide? What should we do? And there's just before you respond, there is this sense, as this happens, I want to describe it differently for Tani, Robar, and the river, and then for Inga, because Inga experiences this differently. The three of you, Tani, Robar, and the river, experience this next thing of you are suddenly acutely aware of the depth of this mountain, of the scope of the chamber, of the weight of the gazes of the dwarves. There's something about the years which kind of press down upon you, not necessarily in a, oh, I'm going to be covered with shadow, but just sort of the overwhelming quality of it, which I think maybe the river has already made reference to, feeling. But for you, Inga, this feels like more than that, where the other party feels the weight of, combined history. You also feel the weight of legacy, right? That, like, this council affects the history of your people. And so it's a kind of solemn moment.
Well then, once that solemn moment has passed, Inge says, do we have any idea where that tower is specifically? Like, do we have any ways to find it?
And Dane says, not yet, but I think there may be possibilities. And he looks over to Munin, and Munin says, I have begun to find some additional work in books. If any of you who have interest in lore and scholarly things would be willing to sit with me, I think spending time in the chamber of Mazarbul would allow us to find additional details. Perhaps we could find details about the roads or places that lead in certain directions. He took, after all, something just from one book. Surely there is something else within our treasure of knowledge that would allow us to find the place. We will do what we can.
Well, in that case, I would suggest we find out what we can here, and then we use that information to find that, to get to that tower.
And Dane sort of nods slowly, and he says, and have you any additional information for us? We here have been concerned with our own troubles, and the betrayal has driven few other things out of our mind. But there may be many eyes and many ears that may pick up on sights and sounds we would not have. Do you know of anything from distant lands?
Depends on what you have heard so far. Like, how much do you know of what just happened in Selduin?
He says, I have been told by some of the companions who accompanied some of my dwarves that went with them, and of course Bard himself, of your own bravery. I have heard that the creatures you fought were motivated by some shadowy force, but I know little of the details.
Does the name Gibbet King mean anything to you?
And he sort of leans back in his chair, in his throne. I cannot say that it does. And he looks over at Munin, and Munin shakes his head.
Well, it appears that he is who led the foul orcs northward. We are not entirely sure what exactly he is either, but the way he appeared to us was as if he was possessing an ancient corpse that they were pulling on a chariot.
This is not the first time that we had seen a corpse animated by this evil either. While Tony and I were in the inn that we were holding in Selduin, a recently deceased man began to speak foul lies, and River just kind of turns away and sort of overcome by how horrible that memory was. And before that, wasn't there a corpse chained that you saw? There seems to be this power that can speak through the dead and enter our minds and darken them.
It is that first sprung to memory when you mentioned worms. The chained spirit of which the river speaks, It's bound by a green, ghastly, glowing chain, which, from my studies, was once used to bind the father of Smaug. And if this watchtower you speak of has any history with worms, I wonder if perhaps, and this is strictly a guess and supposition and the worst kind of theory crafting I can imagine, if what this person was seeking, you said a year or so ago?
Yes, last year.
That is what they were looking for in that tower, took it from that place and used it to bind the creature that we later saw.
And go ahead, sorry.
It was the Elfin Tower, right?
No. That was before that in the Drummerhorn.
The Drummerhorn.
Yes.
Where we went to free the slaves.
Yep.
Right there. That's what he says.
The weird construction there was like evil black stone, wasn't it? Or
Yep.
was that, yeah?
That's correct.
But
and it was the first time you had actually, like, in dreams you had seen before, but it was the first time you actually, like, in this world saw the spirit speaking.
And it was also clear that that stone had been brought there from somewhere else.
Yep. Correct. And both Munin and Dane kind of stroke their beards thoughtfully.
Which is no small task.
Yeah, they stroke their beards thoughtfully. And
Carry brushes with which to kind of
yes, exactly. You hear the sound of harp, ding, 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 ding.
Or like a contrabass.
Yes. And Dane sort of there's a long, like, feels like almost a minute of silence. I mean, as they sort of ponder this, and then Dane says, "The name you speak. It has been some time since we have heard it in this chamber, associated with his father and those of the other greater worms. I had heard rumors of this chain, but had never seen it or experienced it myself. The enslavement of a dragon, a foul worm of that ilk." And he shakes his head. "I had thought we perhaps could be free of that for some time." And then he sort of looks back up and he says, "If this is true, then we must find that watchtower. This spirit you speak of seems to have great power, and we've already seen the treachery that it can command. Combine that with the might of a dragon, and we do not know that all of the worms were wiped out. And the power that it brings could bring all of Wilderland to its knees, and Erebor with it." And Munin sort of looks over and sort of says, "My lord, it is possible that these things are simply not connected. It is possible the watchtower is separate. Surely the chain was never kept there." And Dane says, "It is possible. But there must be something. That watchtower was built specifically to look for these dragons. Why would he want to know where this was? I took over for the one who had become the last king under the mountain, and I will not give up the reign or the dwarven homeland this quickly." And he says, "First we must find it. But then I would ask whether you would be willing to do as you have just suggested you might. Go forth, find the watchtower, and see what evil lies within it. But I will give you no false hope, no illusions. The withered heath is blasted. Nothing grows there. The desolation of Smaug was a clean scar, one that might heal. There is no healing the heath. There is no healing the waste. Every moment that you spend in it, the weight of it presses down upon you. I would not send anyone into that land against their will. And so, before you agree to this, I must know that you do so freely, and with the understanding that only hope will sustain you in a place where too much of it has been taken away.
Was that
That was to
like,
everybody.
are we
apparently.
sitting down?
You are
or
no.
what?
You have still been standing in front of the
We are still-
stairs next
okay.
to the table. Now, just one quick note: Munin has ascended the stairs again, so he brought the book down to show you, and then he walked back up. The book is still open in front of you, and Munin has gone back up to stand near Dane in his throne.
Okay. So Inge like slams a flat hand on the table and says, "We have all lost and seen too much already to give up now. Like something is out there, tries to take it all away from us again. And I will not have it. Of course I will go find that tower."
He nods slowly and looks at the rest of you. Go ahead, Robar.
Yeah, I too am bound to Inga and to ridding the world of whatever shadow has laid its claws upon it. But I would say that I also, like you, Great King, have a responsibility to my people. I would ask in exchange for my aid here that perhaps help my people who live in the West Upper Vales and just encountered and survived a vicious bandit king by the name of Wilderland. They need food and, well, we need allies. I hope that perhaps I could find one in the good dwarves of this great city.
And he says, "Even were I not asking you to do this great, dangerous task, I would have granted you your boon before you asked it. For I know something of the people of the West Upper Vales. This name of Wilderland has come to me, but we had no time to concern ourselves with it, nor did Bard. If your people are in need of aid, then I will provide it as may be. I will send several of my best artisans, and with them will send carts of food, enough to be able to sustain hundreds and hundreds for the better part of several years. Moreover, I will leave some of my dwarven guards with them. There are other bandits in the wild, but they will not come near your people as long as my dwarves guard them. If you will do this task for me, I will send them out at once, even as you set on your way."
That is a mighty boon, Great King. It shall be done.
For a start, because we got to have some. No.
He nods and he says, "And you, Bjorning Tawny Bear, I wonder what a Bjorning would think of this place. I know what the Bjornings did in the Battle of the Five Armies, and I also know what they do now. As I understand it, their time is spent in the farm, is spent in the fields, not in blasted wastelands. Would you go forward and willingly subject yourself to that once more?"
My land, my crop, my animals, my friends. They are being well tended by good neighbors while I am away. I have very little else that binds me to anything in this world save for these companions of mine. And where they go, so will I.
He nods slowly and he says, "It was the friendship of Bjorn 5 years ago that made it possible for us to win over impossible odds when all seemed lost. I have not forgotten that, nor the strength that rests in his people. Very well. And he turns to you, River, and he says, the dwarves have long histories of friendship with the woodmen, and yet this is not simply or even exclusively your fight. Would you put your own life at risk for this? Would you ask something of me in return?
We've been traveling together for some time, and we've seen that there is no part of the world that we know that has not been touched by this evil. The chance to go and beard this lion in its den is honestly something I can't imagine ever not doing, to just root it out wherever it may be, when we know it's coming for us regardless. I don't think any one of us would be safer waiting for another attack. So it will be my honor to accompany my friends on this journey. And I would do it without asking for anything except to echo what Robar and Tommy have said, that just to bind our peoples closer in friendship, that we may come to each other's aid, is more boon than is the greatest boon I can imagine asking. That we not simply take gifts and leave, but bind each other to each other and strengthen those bonds to each other, and not see friendship as a debt to be acquitted of, but as a tie that continues to connect us all afterwards, even once this evil is defeated. And we will defeat it, I'm certain of that. Her voice wavers a little bit. She does that like she's trying to convince herself, but nevertheless.
There is great wisdom in your words, despite your youth. You serve your people well. And he says, I sense a little of the wisdom of Radagast has passed through you, perhaps. And he nods, and then he turns back to you, finally, Inga, and he says, you have led your party to this decision, and your friends have proven why they are friends. And so, I will indeed allow you to go forth, and I will task you with it. But I will not ask this of one who has not been brought into our service. And he rises for the first time from the throne, and he walks down steps until he's standing above you, and like just one step above you. And he says, I would ask that you kneel, Inga, daughter of Ida.
Inga, blinks her eyes a few times, like, oh, whoa, what's happening? And then kneels down.
And
River gets watery anime eyes. It's like
he for the first time you can see that at his belt he has this mattock, and he pulls it forth.
It's a hammer.
Thank you.
Sorry, I beg your pardon. Yes, this mattock is hammer, and as he pulls it forth, you can see that there are scratches and notches on it, and also marks, like what look like burn marks, scorch marks. And he says, "It was this hammer that was used to forge the swords of the kings under the mountain. And for the last centuries, they have been guarded by those who wielded the king under the mountain's name, his throne, his possessions, and his people. As it was done for centuries before and centuries since, I now bring you to our service. Will you," and he brings his mattock over, and he kind of gradually touches your left shoulder and then your right shoulder, and he says, "Will you become one of the Lonely Mountain and be bound as one of my service You will be known henceforth as Inga, daughter of Ida, the Council of Dane.
Like Inga is speechless for a moment there, and it's like, for as long as I can stand on my 2 feet and for as long as I can swing a weapon, I will.
He says, then you may rise. And he kind of steps back and he waits for you to do that. Do you, I assume?
Yeah, of course.
And then you just like stay there like, no.
The floor is really comfortable under my knees.
And when you rise back and he puts the mattock back at your belt, he says, if I may give one bit of advice. My cousin Thorin learned to his cost, and too late, what the cost of abandoning friendships could be. You have not walked his path, and that means you have been brought to this point together. But I sense that grief and doubt still sits upon you. I felt it myself, and saw it in the eyes of my cousin. As you go forth, consider well what I have said here, and look to your friends. Thorin could not do so until the end. You have a chance to write his story in a different way.
Thank you, Your Majesty.
And he kind of bows and just slightly just sort of tilts his head. And you kind of hear Owen, who is, again, off to the side, sort of go, like, kind of draw on his breath, like he's never seen that. Like he's never seen Dane actually bow his head to anybody.
Wait, or is it Ori?
Ori. Did I say Owen?
You
Sorry.
said Owen.
I beg your
yeah.
pardon,
I was
Ori.
like, who's Owen?
I'm wrong 13, sorry. Or I beg your pardon, Ori. So Ori
Wow.
kind of, and sort of gasps a little bit. And then, Dane turns around and gradually walks back up the stairs and then turns and says, very well. Then our decision has been made. Now, at this point, I'm going to ask you to make a final audience check. I'm going to give you +6 to this check. You guys did very well with all of this, and your previous reputation is also helping you. So combined with everything together, the original audience introduction roll didn't go so hot, but everything else was good. So I'm going to give you 6 to this roll. Now, one of you is going to have to do this, and I pretty much, unless
It should be Inga.
it ought to be Inga, I would
Yeah.
think. So you're going to have to make this roll. So you're going to be using either traditions or lore or history. And if you want to call for inspiration on this, I'm totally cool with that. If this
I'm
is the moment you
inspiring
want to say
you.
that. All right.
Oh,
There you go.
Yeah.
So do me a favor,
Cool,
Mal,
cool,
if you
cool.
don't mind, in chat, if you can just do ! Inspire space and then Inga, because that way it'll mark it in the bot that you're doing
so
Exclamation space inspire.
No, ! Inspire, all one word, and then space Inga.
Oh, natural 20.
Perfect. Oh, snap! Dang, really?
Yes!
Yeah, dang.
Oh
I'm choosing
my
to believe
god.
that happened
And did you
because
see
of the inspiration. So there.
Yeah, and did you see the other one was a 22?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Is Inga now like the king? Is that...
Jane
You're
is
so
like, you
good,
know what? I'm retaring. You know, here's a magic. Here's a crown.
You know?
Here's the Matic. Actually, you are now Kinga.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh my gosh. That's wow. All right. Well,
I'd say yes, queen, but it's
Note.
more like yes, kinga.
I'm just going to note at this number, King Dane is positively impressed, which is kind of underselling it, I would say. So the following happens. He looks down upon all of you and he says, "It is clear to me that you've come here for a reason beyond any that I could have summoned you for. And thus, there are several things I will try to do to make your journey somewhat easier. First, the Armory of Thror, one that took us centuries to build, is open to you. And I will allow each of you to select one item from it before leaving." Now, Inga, you are aware of what this means. The Armory of Thror is where some of the greatest weapons that have been seen in the north, and not just that, like weapons, armor, like, is in there. So there's a lot there.
Mithril!
So there's stuff there that you'll be able to find. So that's the first thing. The second thing he says, also, if you would gather more information about this watchtower, once we have found what we must, I will do what has not been done by any previous king under the mountain. I will allow you to take the book with you. Perhaps the information gathered therein will make it possible to you to find what you need. And Munin kind of gives him like a...
The hell you will?
Yeah, exactly.
Why are you giving away my stuff?
Exactly. At which point Thor would be like, at which point Durin would be like, that's my stuff, actually. And but he says, and so Munin says, I will prepare it as best I can for travel. And Durin says, Dane, not Durin. Dane says, that'll be a slip. Dane says...
That would be something meeting
exactly.
Durin.
Durin
Your
appears.
natural 20 summoned Durin into
I was like,
his body.
hi. No. Dane says, do so, Munin. I do not do this lightly. But if there is something to be found up there, then they must do what they can to find it. And Munin kind of nods. He seems like not actually that upset. Like he sort of is like, he was sort of like, what? But then he's like, like as he's thinking about it. And you almost sort of can see the gears moving, like, how do I get this book ready to be traveled? So that's what he's thinking
Part of
about.
me is like, or what if you just copied some of the pages from the book so that we didn't have to lug a gigantic
you want to
metal
take 6 months though? I mean, it's a big book. But yes,
Some
I mean,
some photos, obviously.
yeah, exactly. I just pull out the cell phone and like I'll upload it to the cloud.
Can we get that as a PDF, please?
Yes, exactly. I know, exactly.
PDF version.
He's
on
like, there-
Kickstarter.
Exactly, Kickstarter. He's like, there are licensing problems.
The Tolkien estate won't let us do it.
Look, we're not sponsored anymore. All right, there's only so much we can do. Okay. So he does this, and then he says, last, I will give you, of course, safe passage from here to the other side of the mountain. You will be protected while you stay here. And whoever of you wishes to go and work with Munin here, it may take some time to find the path that is needed. The withered heath and the waste beyond it, that blasted land is not something to be wandered about. We must know exactly where to go, and for that, we must find more information. So, I invite you to remain here, to pick what you need from the armory, while one of your number helps Munin. Together we will find the path, and then, as soon as may be, you'll be sent on your way to the watchtower.
Well, in that case, let's get to it, I suppose.
And he
No time like the present.
Yeah.
Right, Ari?
and he nods, and says, and sort of, again, just sort of inclines his head, and Ori comes back out and bows low. What do all of you do, by the way?
Oh, River also bows. And,
Okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to make
Yeah.
sure. So
Yeah,
everyone
yeah.
also is bowing
Like
low.
flipping the bird, no.
So all of you go out now.
No, wait. Inge wants to stay. Your Majesty, one more thing, if I may.
Yes, of course.
I have a letter here from Mountain Hall, all the way in the Misty Mountains. Some people there have been very good friends to my family and me for many times back when we were still traveling the roads. And they have been an exceptional asset to our endeavors.
They also felt Lockman's treachery very keen.
Yes, and they also would require some aid.
And one of, I would say Ori probably brings the letter up to him, and he reads it, and then he says, "This is grim news. I knew the doorkeeper Baranold myself, And although I have not met Heartfast, I knew his father, Heartmut. He was a good man, and indeed the people of the Misty Mountains and the dwarves who live there often spoke well of him. I am sending already some dwarves to help and aid Robar's people. If you will, I will send some people as well, and will ask for assistance as well from the men of the lake, and see if they can be sent to the aid of Mountain Hall. I will send them immediately, since you have sworn an oath to engage in your task. Will that be acceptable for your mission in this regard?
Is he like directing that at Inga or
He's
at
directing
Robar?
that at you. So
Okay,
because he said, he's like, you already talked to Robar about it, but then he's like, I will
Yeah.
also send dwarves and like
I
talk
think
to them
I'm bowing and walking away at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, like
Set
Inga
them
says,
up,
let's
set them up.
absolutely. Thank you very much, Your Majesty.
And he nods, and at that point, Ori will take all of you out, and this is a
Another thing. Now that you mentioned that, you knew Baranold.
One more thing.
yes. Oh yeah, sure.
Your Majesty, since I wasn't aware that you also knew Baranold, in that case, I have some more news for you.
Oh no.
Baranold
Yeah.
sadly passed away when defending Robar's home.
He nods and he says, "Yes. I had wondered when that moment might happen. Baranold had told me many years ago when I knew him that he wished to see my home. And then, when my home became this place, the Lonely Mountain, I imagined he wanted to see the workings of the dwarves. I am
Yeah.
sorry that his wish was never granted."
Yes, we were actually traveling towards here together. That was gonna be our shared destination, but then sometimes destiny has different things in mind for us, I suppose.
And he sighs heavily and he says, "It appears that when one lives as long as our race does, Inga, we will encounter as many sorrows as joys, and they build over the years. I think you know this well."
Yes, I do.
He says, "Nonetheless, your memory does him and them credit. Perhaps in helping his people, we do some measure of respect to Baranold himself."
That would be wonderful. Thank you, Your Majesty.
And he nods, and now Ori takes them out.
I was
Now we are leaving, yes.
It's like- Oh, also, it's like
One more thing.
yeah, what,
What's that guy's name? The detective guy, the not Poirot, the the guy in the giant jacket.
Columbo.
Columbo.
Yeah,
Columbo, that's
yeah.
the one.
Peter
Just
Falk.
one more thing. Just but yes.
Okay. Oh, I thought you were actually serious for a minute. I was like, all right, this is just gonna be like.
No.
I just had this image. It's like in Return of the Jedi where C-3PO is like trying to talk and Han keeps being like, "Oh, make sure you ask him for goods. Do this," and then pulls him back again. He's like, "Come on, I don't have all day. Let's go." Like he's just constantly like, ah. Anyway, so you depart now. What happens next, actually, is going to be interesting because you're going to have the opportunity to get two things. The first is that you're going to get an opportunity to get wrong book. You will each have an opportunity to get something which has essentially legendary status.
Cool.
Yeah, an item with legendary status. So that's the first thing. And so in the armory, but I need to find my list of items because I was not
I don't have my book with me.
not expecting a crit success on that, and so I it's not this
Hey,
way.
Will, where do you live now?
Savannah, Georgia.
What? Oh, that. God damn it!
How rude.
I mean,
Yeah, I
we're-
immigrated in between somewhere around just before.
I mean, I knew you were moving to the States. I just thought it was somewhere that was like within driving distance of me still, as opposed to.
Technically, it is.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
It's just a long drive.
It's like
Flight is
18 hours, I think.
Oh no, from Canada?
Yeah.
Like 3 hours to Georgia.
What? No.
It's crazy short.
To drive.
That
Oh,
is
to
not...
drive. Oh yeah, no.
Yeah.
I was like, there is no theory of geography where it
No,
takes
no.
3 hours to drive to Georgia from Canada.
I said the flight.
So in what world is 3 hours driving?
Maybe in a
like,
bullet train.
short?
But like, Jesus.
Oh, in North America, that is the world in which a 3 hour
Yeah.
flight is short. Like driving from here to Montreal is, maybe 2 hours and this basically. But no, Savannah, you're like in peach territory now. And that's nice. I'm jealous. The weather is, I hear, very nice.
Yes, it's a very great day. Although when it is great, just like hurricanes and tornadoes.
Oh, that's fair, yes. Yeah.
Okay. There we go. Almost.
Is that like where Sid's people are from, or did you
yeah,
guys?
they're from Georgia, but a couple of hours down south, and so we moved up here for a new job.
Close, but far enough away not to be bothered by them.
Right, that's the key with family, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I'm not saying that I was motivated to ask for this information by Olive's perfect face, but I'm not saying that also. So
My sister who's in England wants to come and take a flight just to come and see her. So.
Oh, perfect! She's so small and like little teddy bear face, and
I know.
look, she's a Muppet. Oh, she's so good.
Yeah, so cute.
Okay.
Oh, but hey,
All right. So I found some of it. Okay.
We can totally just keep looking at Olive. I'm fine with that.
No,
It's
that's,
fine,
that's,
You know, we can just like go choose our items in between the sessions, like or
I don't think you want to do that in case something comes up where you need it over the next.
we just
45
get
minutes.
plot armor till then. That's fine.
Yeah.
Is that how?
Legendary plot armor.
Uh-huh.
Don it. Wear it with pride.
I see.
It struck me funny that Amal, that you mentioned, maybe copying the book, because that's the only other thing that Tawny was going to say.
Oh, really?
It was like, if these things are so important, why don't you make a copy that is not
we
so
back up here?
delicate?
Have we backed up?
Seriously.
Is there a
I was
safe
like,
point?
wait,
Like,
I mean, you've got, it's like your one job, dude. Like, why are you just watching the books instead of making a lot of copies of the books? But I understand about the secrecy element, but I totally, actually, when we were describing Lockman et al. Trying to get access, I was just imagining like a Middle-earth PhD trying to like get permission to visit all of these extremely sacred libraries and stuff.
rare books at Yale or whatever, right? Like, yeah. Exactly.
You may consult our books, but first you must perform 3 tasks that
Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you what else too. Have you ever been in the rare books library at Yale?
I have not. I've been to the rare books in Exeter and what was the one of the ones in Oxford? I think it was Magdalen College, but.
Okay. Yeah, the one at Yale I went to because my father, it was when I was a kid actually, my father had a NEH grant, and so he went like a fellowship, so he was down there for that summer. And the rare books library there is basically built inside this marble building where the marble is vaguely translucent. So you can actually see light kind of filtering through the marble. So there's this very kind of strange, like, first of all, it's marble, and so it's like very, awe-inspiring and all that, but it also just has this sort of weird sense of kind of the wisdom of the years, you know what I mean? Like, that kind of descends over it. And I remember very well, like, I actually was like, I think I was like maybe 6 or 7, and I remember sort of like falling asleep because I was waiting for my dad to do something, and I remember looking and seeing the light kind of filtering through those walls. Anyway, but yeah, so rare books, man.
I feel
okay.
like shadow points should lessen just from having heard that story.
Yes, it's yeah. My shadow points did. I okay. So when you were brought, I'm going to sort of break this into two parts. One is going to be the armory thing, where we'll take care of that, and then the second will be the search for the book. And all four of you, after you deal with the armory thing, will have to decide who you want to be assisting Munin in this search for other information about where the watchtower might be.
Tani.
My guess is Tani, but it also, it could be any of you. So I just want to sort of know that as well. Oh yeah, all right, good. I'm glad you're taking her to the vet, Coven. I hope she's okay. All right. So here are the following. The following things are sort of available to you as you enter there. Now, the only thing I need to check, because I keep not finding this one thing, is do I have the thing with the stuff? Blah, 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 blah. That's not it. Is it the thing with the stuff? Okay.
With the stuff.
The thing with the okay, that's that. All right, which means this.
Swing.
Okay. All right. Do I have it there? Yes, I do. Okay, good, wonderful. All right.
Your
awesome.
kids have paws.
Okay.
How old is all?
She's 8 weeks today.
God.
I know, she's tiny. She's already grown quite a bit since we've had her, actually.
She's not gonna be very big though, right? She's like gonna be
she's the runt of the litter, so she was the smallest of some very small dogs. So
Okay, here we go. When you were brought into the armory, you will have a chance to get some basic equipment, which is up to the amount of 100 silver. So you'll be able to spend 100 silver. I believe it's per person, but I'll check it. To be able to do this, yes, each hero may select 100 silver of gear. That's in addition to what I'm about to describe right now.
Oh, wow.
When you were brought into the armory, the sheer level of just the stuff that you see lined up against the walls, suits of armor of every description from, frankly, Tani, larger than any Bjorning you've ever seen, all the way down to something which would seem small even for a halfling. The weapons, racks and racks of weapons, of halberds, of swords, of hammers, of mattocks, of axes, all sort of along the side. Helmets, shields, and even other sorts of equipment, armored wagons and things like this. All of that sort of all around the outside of this great chamber. And in the center of the chamber is this enormous forge. You can feel the heat from it from here. And there are several dwarves who are actually operating this enormous bellows. It takes two of them to actually operate it. And each time they blow into it, the fire, and comes sort of swirls back down, and the sound of hammering steel as more shields and swords are being made. And as you are brought into the armory, you are introduced to several of the smiths who are going to make you, as you are in the process of doing the search and knowledge while the person's searching, they're going to make a legendary weapon or armor for each of you. So
Can Johnny Mark make mine? I don't like the other one so much.
I'm sorry, what?
Sorry.
What'd you say?
I made a Smith's joke. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Can Johnny Marr make mine? Because I don't like that.
That's,
yeah.
I see. So, blah, 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 blah. Yes, so each of you will have a chance to make this decision. So I'm going to start here with the person who might be hardest, and that's Tani, because I don't know what's going to be of particular interest to Tani here. So the first thing is the item type. So the item type, which is going to basically be, are you designing a weapon? Are you designing a mail shirt? Are you designing a shield? What kind of thing are you going to design? So it could be any weapon, it could be any piece of armor, it could be a shield too. Or a helmet. Well, that's armor also. So yes, armor, weapon, or shield. Unfortunately, they can't make you a quarterstaff. I mean, I guess they could try, but
it would be a lot heavier than the
it's like the Dark Souls.
Mithril quarterstaff, it would probably actually be quite light, but
yeah.
It wouldn't do too much damage, I imagine, though. It'd still be just a blunt object.
I don't know. Given Tawny's outlook on things, and the fact that he can only wear light armor, because in the book, the only thing that has more armor coverage than what he's currently wearing is the leather corselet, and it's only an increase of one AC for that. But I mean, he would basically be.
Oh, it's going to be better than that, my friend.
I know. I'm just saying that for him, that would be the thing. Is
Okay.
that he would. The longer he lives, the longer he can heal people.
Okay.
He's not interested in hurting people anymore, so a weapon makes no sense for him.
Okay, so in that case, they will give you this leather corselet, and as they are assembling it and to give it to you, as you can sort of see it being forged, and these things come together relatively quickly. This thing that we're talking about is going to take about a fortnight, about a couple of weeks to do, because that's the same couple of weeks that it will take as you're trying to figure out where the hell this tower is. So during this 2 weeks time, all of you come back to sort of check on these weapons or armor. So just I'm kind of montaging it a bit so that people can see the final result of what all that looks like. So here are the options that you have available to you, Tani, for this armor. You will be able to get, this is a legendary item, remember, so you will be able to get 3 of these things added to this effect. So the leather corselet will have the following. The first is ancient close fitting. And what that means is that this quality enhances the AC rating +2, in addition to what it would normally give you, an additional +2, and once per short or long rest, if your proficiency bonus is +4 or more after an enemy has hit you, but before damage is rolled. So basically what that means is, if they beat you within 4, okay, so, and you would have to ask me, like, is it closer than that? You can declare that the blow missed you instead. So that's one option. A second option is Ancient Cunning Make, which enhances the AC rating of +1, reduces the weight to a quarter of normal, and you don't have any strength requirements, you don't suffer disadvantage on stealth checks or any such thing, and you are immune to critical hits. You take only normal damage on a strike. So that's Ancient Cunning Make. And then the other options, so those are 2 options. The other options that you have, there's a couple more. Where's the one? Sorry, gotta find what it was. Let's see. Here we go. So we can't do that because that won't work. Okay, reinforced. Sorry, I was a little confused about what the other. Oh, I see. Okay, here we go. And then the other one that they have in addition to those 2 are, hey, Terry, can you mute yourself for a minute because we're getting feedback?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Okay. Let's see. Okay, and then the last option, actually, I took this back. You're not going to get a choice because most of this actually deals to weapons, not armor. Sorry. So you're going to get both of those. So you're going to get close fitting and cunning make, which means that the grand total is +3 AC. Okay. Your proficiency bonus means that if it's within 4, so if they hit you and it's less than 4 gap between your AC and their hit, then you can declare the blow missed you once per short or long rest. Once only. And you don't have disadvantage on stealth checks, and you are immune to critical hits. So those are the 2 major things there. The last thing is that this has upon it is a particular quality, which is that it is marked with a cunning dwarven rune. And what that means is that you are essentially marked as a friend of the dwarves. If you are in a place where dwarves can help you or assist you, or if you are in a place where, sort of darkness is taking you and some other dwarf, dwarves that are around, I'm leaving aside Inga, she will still have her own will, but dwarves that are around will attempt to save you or will be favorably inclined to you if you are wearing this armor. So basically, dwarf friend is what this would be defined as. Now, the last part of this, which is very important, is the name. And because this is being crafted for you, you are the one that they ask to name the item. So what is this leather corselet armor, which is ancient close-fitting, ancient cunning, and which has this dwarf friend rune upon it? What would you call this item?
Kevin, no.
They take it from you and tell you to get out.
This is no no small request that you've laid at my feet here.
They know. It's okay. The clock's not counting down or anything. Take away.
Okay, good. Give me time to think about it.
I'll give you a chance to think about it. While I do that, I'm going to jump down to Robar next. Robar, you have an opportunity for armor or weapons. You can choose either of these.
Man,
or shield.
You know, I think
I have it.
Robar-
Sorry.
Okay, wait. Go ahead,
Okay, no good.
Tawny.
Mountain hide.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh,
Dig it.
I like it.
Badass.
Hide,
All right, mountain hide.
Robar is sick of he wants a bow, but like he's sick of getting hit all the time at AC 14. So I think some armor that he can move, he can still move quietly in, would be something that he'd be looking for.
Okay. All right. Well, then those first two things that I mentioned are there, but instead of getting the dwarven rune, you are going to have something a little bit different on your armor. Instead of getting that dwarven rune, so basically, Tren can tell you what I just told him. What I just told him is what you're going to get for your armor also. But you have something additional. Your armor, of course, is not made of leather. Your armor is made of mithril. And when you are given this mithril armor, it means that you get an additional +2. So what that means is that you now have a grand total of +5 to your AC. And it is, of course, quite light. So that's how you don't get additional benefits because you already got the light benefits, but the point is that stays there. So this is mithril armor. Now, there is one thing that I want to note that is going to be an issue with that you have to be aware of. A suit of mithril armor. Have you seen The Mandalorian?
Yeah.
I haven't. No.
Right. So Mal knows what I'm talking about.
Oh my god.
So when basically they said when this is not much of a spoiler. He at some point gets really badass armor pretty early in the show, and when he gets badass armor, the armor is like, this will bring many eyes. And so like the thing I wanted to note is if you're wearing a suit of mithril armor like, out there, people are going to be like, oh man, and also evil people are going to be like, kill that guy, like basically so this is the kind of thing now it'll work real well with revealing royalty. Like if you throw your cloak and you're like dressed in mithril, like it's badass. But yes, so that is your AC. So I'm just warning you that is something you need to consider, that you may be more of a target as a consequence of this, but you also have
makes sense,
a better AC than you would normally, obviously.
Way better AC. All right, thank you. I say to the dwarves, wow. This is awesome.
Now, before I ask you to name it,
Mighty Moon.
That's going to give you a total AC of, I got to double check it.
19 if it's just +5 from what.
Well, but it's not. But remember, it's not like you're just like bolting it onto your current armor. It means that you've got whatever your normal armor would be. Because what are you wearing right now? Are you wearing?
Studded leather.
Okay, so if you're wearing studded leather, right now.
Managed to tip the bin over.
If you're wearing studded leather, and this armor is going to be, I can't believe I literally just shut down what my items are.
I'm definitely going to need a refresher on all the stuff that you just said, because I thought it was only Tawny specific when you were saying them, so that's for all of us.
Well, you will each get a chance to choose something different. I mean, like as it happens, like
the benefits and stuff like are.
Yeah. I can talk about that again. So, where's my? Oh God damn it! I'm never looking at the right thing.
I would totally show you how adorable my cat is right now, but he's actually embedded in a lot of messy, unfolded laundry, so I will not do that. But he's extremely adorable and black and white and soft and fuzzy.
So, studded leather is 12.
Right. There we go. I just found it. All right. So, weapons. There's armor. Okay. So this would be, of course. Okay. So this would be. What's your dex modifier?
+2.
Okay. So actually, so that'd be. Yeah, pretty close. Your AC then was 18.
Okay. Oh yeah. It's like wearing plate.
Yep. But like walking around in chain.
but able to walk. Yeah.
Got pretty goddamn good. Okay. Now, what about the name, Robar?
Ooh.
Yeah, shined up so they can see it easily for miles. Exactly.
Yeah.
Just blinds everyone.
I'm gonna have to think about a name. I got a couple ideas.
Okay,
now.
that's fine. I'll give you a chance to think about that. I'm going to save Terry's for last. I'm going to save Inga's for last. So I'm going to go to the River. Okay, River. You have an option for either armor or weapons yourself. I don't think you're much of a shield person, but armor or weapons for sure.
Well, so here's the thing, right? So, okay, so thinking armor or weapons. Give me a sense though, because you said that they were going to get this plus one other thing, right? Or
no. I'm sorry. That was when I was talking to Tani. You're going to get a total of 3 qualities to
three
it.
qualities,
Yes.
not okay.
3
And the 3
characteristics.
qualities
Basically.
will be like depending on what she chooses.
Right.
So I was imagining, even though she doesn't really use a shield, one thing I was sort of imagining was braces or like bracers or something like that potentially she could use like without giving up a hand, basically. Just
Yes.
right?
Yes. I see what would do that. Yes.
But I'm just gonna kind of talk my way through some options then, because so that's one thing that I'm thinking of, which I guess would have the shield qualities, but would not need to be held. Does
the
that make
shield
sense?
itself. Yes, I get it. Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, it would be super awesome to upgrade her axes. The thing about her armor is that she has the feather armor that is blessed by Radagast.
Right.
So I found myself wondering though, incidentally, annoyingly, I didn't realize until I looked at the book again just now that should have been giving her advantage on dexterity and stealth ability checks when moving through forested areas.
Whoops. Yeah.
Whoops. But it doesn't matter. We haven't been in that many forested areas.
Yeah, that's true. Not recently.
So my question would be, like, she has an emotional attachment to this like armor that Radagast has blessed.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if could the dwarves like make that armor better, or would they just need to make something up out of like?
They might be able to enchant. They might be able to add something to it. What I would say, well, this is up to you. My thought would be that they could add something to it, but you might end up getting something which might be more effective. Let me back up. There's only so many enchantments you can put on one thing. And
right.
So the fact that it's already been enchanted by Radagast means that there's a limit to what they can do to add to the armor.
Right.
So you could improve it somewhat. Or you could get something brand new with this armor. But if I were you, because you rely on dexterity, because you already have the feather armor, which means that you're kind of able to move gracefully as it is, I feel like what you've been doing in combat over the last number of sessions, people can correct me if I'm wrong, is like seriously bringing people down with the axes, like just like I'm no joke here.
Yeah.
I would think about getting something like badass axes. I mean, I don't know.
Definitely suits her personality better to get new shiny amazing axes.
It's up to you, but that's my thought. Yeah.
It's just that I would also like her to be harder to hit, but that can also, I mean, eventually they'll level up, and that would be maybe.
This is where the kids say, "Get good, just duck it."
Yeah. No, but yeah, it makes a lot more sense for her to be like moving gracefully, dealing a lot of damage.
In which case, I got some choices for you if you want.
Okay, yeah. So talk to me about these choices.
All right. So here's what we've got. So assuming that you're going with the axes, we have a couple of options here. There is, first of all, let's see. Okay. So there is, first of all, Flame of Hope. And what this is basically is something which can be added to the axes. You can take an action to hold a weapon with this quality aloft or brandish it to rally your comrades. All of your allies within 30 feet, when they see this, lose the frightened condition, if they had it, get back 1d6 plus your proficiency bonus in hit points, and gain inspiration.
What?
Now,
really?
That's the good news. The bad news is...
Hold on a second, let me write this down. Allies lose frightened if they have it, get 1d6 plus what?
Plus your proficiency bonus, which I think would be 3 right now, if I'm not mistaken.
Proficiency in what? And that's the dex bonus, basically? Or?
No, your
No,
proficiency bonus is like is basically
Oh,
it's a
level.
separate number that goes up as you level up, and sometimes certain skills allow you to use your proficiency bonus along with that skill, depending on if you're proficient in it. So that's why they call it proficiency bonus.
So 1d6 plus proficiency bonus of what?
I think it's 3, but I'd have to look
It is
again.
right
Is it
now.
3?
But
Okay.
Yeah. But what do they get that for?
No
hit points.
hit points.
Oh, okay.
1d6 plus your proficiency bonus in hit points, and they all gain inspiration.
That feels extremely on brand.
Yes. Now, the bad news is that you only can use this once per long rest, because this is a very powerful thing. Can't do it more than once every long rest.
Okay.
So that's the bad news. But that's called Flame of Hope. Okay. The second thing is the second thing here is called Gleam of Terror. And what this is that I told you.
These are really good names. Okay.
A weapon with this quality inspires fear in the hearts of enemies. You may take an action to force a number of creatures of your choice up to your wisdom modifier. Now we need to look and see, what is your wisdom mod?
2 is it right now?
2. And also, Inga, be listening to this, because this is also something that you'll be able to use some of these too. So a number of creatures of your choice up to your wisdom modifier within 30 feet of you to succeed at a wisdom saving throw, which is equal to difficulty class of 15 plus your proficiency bonus. So that means like a DC 18 check, which is pretty rough check. Or become frightened of you. And when they are frightened of you, it means a creature must spend its turns trying to move as far away from you as it can. It can't willingly move to a space within 30 feet of you. It also can't take reactions. And at the end of each of its turns, it gets to repeat the saving throw. So that's basically the deal.
We saw Inga be frightened, right?
Correct. And it sucked.
It fucking sucked. Excuse me. Yes. So sorry.
Never. Lies and slander.
Never happened. Never happened.
So sorry. So let me repeat. So to take an action to, I'm just writing this down so that
That's fine.
And so could you, sorry.
So you can take an action to force a number of creatures of your choice up to your wisdom modifier, which right now is 2, within 30 feet of you to succeed at a wisdom saving throw. And the wisdom saving throw is equal to a DC, difficulty class, 15 plus your proficiency bonus.
Wow.
Or they become frightened of you.
It's actually a 3 on that wisdom modifier.
So 18. So yeah.
Sorry, so the number of creatures rather. So
so 3 creatures. Yeah. So there you go. And so yes, at the end of each of its turns, a creature can repeat the saving throw. So they get a chance to get out of it after every turn. But the one thing I want to point out is now this ability can't be used again, but only until you've taken a short or a long rest. So this is a little bit better, because if you take a short rest, you get that back.
Okay, so let me just repeat that. So it forces up to the wisdom modifier of creatures to make a wisdom saving throw at a difficulty of like at least 18. Was there another thing between that and the short or long rest? I can't remember. If they fail it, they become frightened.
Right, and they must then try to move as far away. And then I know, then all you need to say is frightened, and then I'll look it up, because it's basically just running away from you as much as it can. Yeah. So that's your second option that you have here. And then your third option that you have here, there are several of these, and I'll just go through them quickly. There is a thing called Runes of Victory, which means that when you're bearing a weapon with this, you gain a +1 bonus to all saving throws. And you get a critical hit on, instead of just a 20, a 19 or a 20.
Ooh. Critical on 19 or 20.
And a +1 to all saving throws.
Yeah, and +1 to all saving throws.
So that's Runes of Victory. There is also Fell, which means you get +2 to attack rolls with this weapon, if that enchantment is put on there. There is also Grievous, which means you get 1d4 extra bonus damage to all damage rolls made with this weapon.
Plus d4 damage.
Yep.
To all, okay.
And the last one is Keen, and what Keen means is that it adds 1 to the range on which it can score a critical hit. So right now it's a 20. If you took Runes of Victory, it would be a 19 or 20. If you took Keen, it would be 18, 19, or 20.
Is that like just keen on its own? It's not stacking.
Keen on its own, it is stacking. Keen on its own is just +1 to the critical range. So that's what you got. So you've got basically Flame of Hope. You've got Gleam of Terror. You've got Grievous, which is the bonus damage. Keen, which is increasing the critical range. Runes of Victory, which gives you +1 to saving throw and gives you an extra on the critical range. And I think that was all I said.
Okay, so I get to pick.
Three of those.
Of Flame of Hope, Gleam of Terror, Runes of Victory, Fell, Grievous, and Keen, I get to pick 3.
That's it.
Holy shit. It's amazing. It's amazing. Okay. Cool.
What do you mean, Aerith, is Keen before or after the doubling? Because Keen, basically Keen stacks with other things like this, like Runes of Victory, but it doesn't double anything. But yeah, so.
Wow. Okay. So essentially, these are she's gonna get new axes forged here, right? Like,
yes.
These are not just enchantments being placed on her.
No, these are new axes.
So does that mean, and not to be greedy about this, does it mean that like the axes are also going to be like just leveled up in a basic way in terms of their?
No, they're the same. They're the same things that they would be before.
Okay.
But with pretty considerable boosts.
Like, can't get like mithril axes or anything. I guess that doesn't really matter. But like, it would just look really cool.
Yeah, sadly not.
Okay. Awesome. Gosh. So I think she's got to take both Flame of Hope and Gleam of Terror.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like, yeah.
I think that's pretty important.
Yeah, in case, by the way, anyone watching the videos later on, because I know we have a number of people who watch these now, just so you know, these are legendary items. In case you're curious, like, oh, those seem really OP. They are. They're legendary items, and it makes sense that these folks are getting them at the end of this adventure and not at the beginning of it. But anyway, but they, then they'll have to fight, as the adventures go on if they survive.
We also haven't bought gear
forever.
Ever.
I know.
Like, I don't know if I've ever bought gear.
It's like your whole life you haven't been able to buy anything, and now it's just like, welcome to the mall. Like, it's just the shopping mall of everything.
The only other thing, so I don't, not to belabor this because I know we're running out of time and you need to focus on Inga, but like, no, she's already got a cool enchanted harp, I guess. I was just gonna say, like, the only other thing I could imagine her getting would be a harp, but it's not really. I mean,
they are not really equipped for that either. I mean, they could give you. They might be able to add an enchantment to it, but it would be. Yeah, they're not really equipped to do that. There are harps within their treasury, but not any better than the one that you've already got.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I was about to say, like, the dwarves are kind of known for their amazing instruments.
Oh yeah, no. It's not that they don't have them. It's just that like they're this is not the same kind of thing it would do. And also, frankly, doing that would take longer than 2 weweeks. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, we could like start an orchestra together. Just start a band.
Start a band. Get the band together.
Would it be a traveling folk band, or would it be like dun 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 death unicorns dun 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 like that?
I think it would be
no, we are not power metal.
It would
death metal. Thank you.
It would be like Glory Hammer-ish, I can imagine.
Like all the good death metal bands out there
I'm
are
almost
named
tempted to
after
allow
something
it.
from the Lord of the Rings.
I'm almost tempted to allow it just so that the whole next set of sessions can just be you guys singing constantly, just as you think. You're gonna die the orc in the death of the blood and the skull. No.
Right.
Trent's like, no, that is not a good idea.
Tawny's just gonna stand there on the corner of the stage.
Yeah, but like Tawny would be the singer. That's
one
like
guy,
the thing.
No, Tawny
Yes.
would not be the singer. No.
Yes.
Tom would be the mysterious
with a
guy that
deep
no one knows
voice.
who does. Like he plays triangle once in a while, and
Like he would be the what's his name from Cannibal Corpse. Now I have to look up his name. Go on.
So like the I'm trying to think tactically about this as well as rule of coolly about this. I feel like so Flame of Hope, Gleam of Terror, you can only use them intermittently, but they are so freaking cool.
Yeah.
So and I feel like they are operating in units. Flame of Hope, Gleam of Terror, Runes of Victory kind of as one unit, and Fell, Grievous, and Keen as kind of a more stats-based unit that you can do every time.
Yeah, I think Flame, Gleam, and Runes is actually cooler, and also you've got two things which get, as you say, can be used intermittently, but Runes of Victory is a permanent, like that benefits you all the time.
Yeah.
I think that looks cooler, but I mean, the other stuff is, and has a, like, I don't know. I think if you were getting, my thought is that if you were getting these earlier, well, because you'll be able to use them in future adventures, I guess. But I was just going to say that, like, this is the kind of thing that you're more likely, you would think, to be fighting sort of the larger creatures that might use boss abilities like this. I don't know. So
no, exactly. I mean, and seeing how terrible frightened as a quality is enough to like make that a thing that I really want. So it's more I'm thinking. So I definitely want Flame of Hope. Definitely want Gleam of Terror. I'm actually trying to decide between Runes of Victory and Fel and Keen. So like those three things, because like stacking Runes of Victory and Keen would be really cool, because it would mean she's doing max damage on everything up on 18 and above. Fel, like actually getting to land the rolls more often, the +2 to attack rolls, especially as the monsters are leveling up as well and stuff, would be also very good. The +1 to saving throws from Runes of Victory, I'm slightly confused about, because like how many saving throws? How do weapons help you with a saving throw? It's like all saving throws is just.
It's all saving throws. You're bearing the weapon is what basically gives this. And saving throws obviously happen in and out of combat.
That's true.
So
literally just having her axes on her allows that. Okay.
That's right. Which again, to me, like fits narratively, but
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Okay, definitely Flame of Hope.
Okay. I knew that title was automatic. I could have put that as anything. I could have been like, you get an ice cream sundae once a year, and you'd be like, I got it, Flame of Hope. Sign me up.
Literally, Flame of Hope is going to be like the name she could give these axes or whatever.
Yeah,
but Flame of Hope, definitely Gleam of Terror. It's sort of less part of her character, but it's like, she's getting some grimness on her.
I mean, be aware though, the other thing to think about is that you could also, like, Inga will have a chance to get some of these choices as well, and so there's no if you were thinking like, oh, someone should have Gleam of Terror, like, Inga could also have that if she wanted. So
that's true.
Just letting you know.
God, I don't want to hold this up. I just want to be like, it's a choice between Runes, Fel, and Keen. I'm not so much about the D4 extra damage and stuff, but because that's a crapshoot. But +2 to attack rolls. Actually, it's got to be a choice between Fel and Runes. No, it's got to be Runes of Victory, right? That's got to be.
Okay, so we got Flame of Hope, Gleam of Terror, Runes of Victory. Yes.
Yep.
Okay. I want you to think of a name. While you're thinking about a name for these axes, I'm going to have Terry do Inga's, because I know Terry's going to get out of here pretty soon because we're coming up to the top of the hour. So
I've also got to go soon. So while you do that, I'm going to get changed into class clothes.
Okay. So Inga, you will have the same options that I just mentioned, but there is one additional thing that you have, which was not available to the others. And I think, we'll see, but I think you might find this has some value actually to it. In addition to the things that you've been using as well, actually, before I say anything, I should say that it depends, first of all, on weapons or armor. Do you have like...
weapon. Inga wants like kick-ass axe, because she's a basic bitch.
Okay, so all the things that I mentioned there is all the same thing that I just mentioned to Amal. You have options available to you as well. But there is one additional thing, and that is you have the ability to choose as one of your enchantments cleaving. And what that means is when you hit a creature in this combat system with cleaving, you automatically deal an additional amount of damage equal to your proficiency bonus to another creature that's engaging you in combat. So if you've got another creature, you're just like hit. So you're doing extra damage to the other creature, like next to it, with every hit that you make.
So like I'm really bad at doing stuff like that, like without reading it, and I don't have my book with me. Is it okay if I like look up that stuff between sessions and like? Is that okay?
Yes, but Yeah, I mean, I guess it is.
Yeah.
I would kind of like to
Because I
mull
kind of need to go.
Okay.
I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. Like, I know I did a lot of that mulling here and stuff, but likewise, I like, especially if they're going to be there for a while, I would really like to actually take off-screen time to think some of these things through.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll give you folks time to think a little bit about that.
Okay, thank you.
Although, Robar, do you have a name for your weapon?
I want to call it something like River Guard or something like that to stop me falling. The
bridge.
The bridge.
Location
Or the dam.
Bridge
And then
ferry.
you can be like,
Holds
oh,
back the
damn.
tide.
It's like ferry bridge. Bridge
No.
ferry.
Well, like name it the dam so that you can be like, oh, damn.
The dam.
Jeez.
The dam that holds back.
All right,
the
so
tide.
Tani's got a name and a weapon. Robar needs a name for his weapon. I'll give him till the next session to think of that. I will give Inga the
I
chance
also
to
want
look
to
at these
time-
things.
Yes, the name is very important.
Okay, I figured. So I'll give you both a chance to think about that. But before I let you all go, there's one other thing that we have to decide, and that is
Okay.
who is going to be the person. Is it going to be Tani that spends time with Munin to try to figure this out, figure out where this watchtower is?
I think stat-wise that makes the most sense. I don't know if stats are entering into it or not, but he is our literal scholar.
Mm.
Like River would be interested just as like she has interest in old stuff and things like that, but I think Tani is better suited to it, and I think River would probably want to wander around and pet some harps. Actually, the one thing I was gonna have River ask Inga, because she's too shy to actually ask Dane herself about this, but like she has heard of the Arkenstone, and if it is a thing that she could be allowed to see from a distance, that would be really cool.
Yeah, if you are okay with grave robbery, because we would need to dig up King Torin to like go see that thing.
No, isn't he like encased in glass or something?
Yeah, it's in.
No, they buried him with it.
No,
didn't
but
they?
it's in a massive room with the Arkenstone on his
Yes.
breast with the sword next to him. And remember, the sword always glows when enemies come near, so they could never be surprised. So that means they gotta have access, I think.
I mean,
I think I think it's more of a tomb than it is underground.
Right.
I mean, they're underground, but you know what I mean.
well, the thing is, like, I mean, I never got to see it, but I'm sure if our quest will be successful, like, King Dane wouldn't be 100% object to maybe, no promises though.
Okay.
I'd
Okay,
say
but
that's
I
a good
really need
guess.
to go now.
Okay, so so keep that in mind. We'll have Tani do that. It's the beginning of our next session. We will have Tani do the scholarly check. I will check in with you about weapons and names, and armor and names and all that stuff, and then we will move on to the departure from the Lonely Mountain. I will start as per usual at the bottom of the row. Thank you so much, Amal. Good stuff today. It was fun to sort of see some of the interactions and everything in a non-combat session for a while. How'd you feel about today, and where will the lovely people see you next?
I think it was delightful. I really, really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed, River in particular really enjoyed seeing Inga get dwarf knighted. That was cool. And just like, wow, the dwarven space is awesome. I think it's really great. I think we all acquitted ourselves with dignity before King Dane, which
Agreed.
is awesome. I'm real excited about these level ups weapons wise. I'm still pondering. But no, super great. Really enjoyed it. Loved my epic poem so much.
I'm
I
glad.
will be treasuring that to my heart for some time. It will carry me through teaching and
I'm
stuff.
glad.
You can find me on Substack. It's amal.substack.com. It's like a email newsletter that's also a website, and that I am sort of trying to orient myself more towards, because I am off Twitter presently until ostensibly next week, but it's so awful there. I just don't want to, anyways. So don't. I'm ostensibly on Twitter as well, but just more and more infrequently. I have a book. It is called This Is How You Lose the Time War. It is in bookstores. There's a paperback coming out in March that I'm excited about, but in the meantime, the hardcover is tremendously beautiful, and it's available in ebook and audiobook and stuff as well. You can, my website's amalinmahsad.com. That's basically it. I'm just staying home until the end of March, and working and not doing anything. So, except working. That's what I mean. That's basically me.
Good stuff.
Thanks again. This has been super lovely. It's just so lovely to see everyone's faces and meet everyone's pets.
It was good to see you as always, Amel. Thank you so much. We will see you again next month. I will jump up to Terry, who I think may already either have left somewhat permanently or not. So I will jump up. I'm moving on to Will and his awesomely cute dog. Good stuff as well, Will. I really was seriously thinking about like the Mandalorian incredible armor reveal. Like you walking along in the mithril is going to be no joke on the revealing royalty. So how'd you feel about today, and where will the lovely and also of course, and you did, get aid for your people, which is one of the things you wanted to do.
Yeah, that was a big thing. That was a big thing.
So how'd you feel about today?
Yeah, feeling really good. It's one of those cool sort of like power up episodes where now we're all sort of ready to. We're all like going to walk out of the hall, the mountain hall, like badasses in slow motion, and our new armor and new weapons all glowing and stuff. Now we look like a real D&D party with our magic items and stuff.
Yep.
So I'm excited about
your legendary items. Your
legendary. Yeah. So that was great. If you want to follow the stuff that I'm up to, just go follow at EncounterRP on Twitter or EncounterRoleplay on Twitch, and then Cobalt Press as well. At Cobalt Press on Twitch and Twitter. We're live tonight at 8:00 Eastern. It's a very long day of streaming with me. Lord of the Rings, then I've got Vampire the Masquerade at 4 p.m. Eastern, and then we're over on Cobalt Press at 8:00 for some more D&D 5e. So come and join me there. And today's been great fun. Thanks for having me, guys.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, Will, so much. And last but certainly not least, Trendane, of course, with Tani. And it was interesting to see both sort of the discomfort of Tani having to deal with, like, he's like, keeps making reference to, you guys are great in battle. And you're like, oh my God, yeah. Mm-hmm. But also, it was sort of interesting to me to see some examples of like getting the armor, what was actually going to be used for that, and then bringing up. I wondered if anyone was going to bring up the chain and like talking about the chain and sort of the impact of that was kind of interesting as well to sort of see that all play out. How'd you feel about today, and where will the lovely folks see you next?
It was good. As we were I was listening to everybody else talking about this stuff. When we start up next time, there is one thing that Tani will ask for, which the dwarves may not have. Okay. But he's going to ask if they have any hagweed.
Just remind me, because
I've got it written on my character.
Okay. Yeah.
But just have it in your brain.
Got it.
But yeah, the it's kind of second verse, same as the first, with Tani doesn't really have anybody except for these people. And the only other stuff he has is back at his home. But as he said, his neighbors are taking care of his stuff while he's out.
Right.
And so he doesn't have to worry about that. He misses it, but this is more important right now.
Yeah.
So, just same reinforcement kind of thing, which is cool.
Yeah. And it was interesting, too, for me to see as you were interacting with, because a lot of you have had, like, Robar's had some serious onstage moments. Tani has had some serious onstage moments somewhat earlier. The River has had some serious onstage moments with, Ash and all that stuff going on. And it was interesting to see all of you getting a chance to see, everyone was like, oh, wow, look at this. But, Inga getting her serious moment in front of, the Dwarven King, especially since, there was a real shot that she could have not made it here at all. And so, which would have been a real shame, honestly, if she hadn't gotten a chance to actually interact this way. So it was interesting to sort of see all of you getting a chance to see Inga, shine, not just in combat, but in this way. She's obviously had a lot of great moments, including with the reveal about her husband's death and all that stuff in Stonyford and all that. So she's had a lot of great moments, but just this was a thing where it felt very dwarvish and dwarves for the dwarves and like all that. So that was kind of cool to see. And I'm glad that you all went along with it very well. Where will they see you next, Ren?
Next month.
Next month they will. Back here for several things with campaigns which are going... Yeah.
Depending on what gets scheduled when, I'll be back.
Yeah, exactly. Like very different directions too. Like, the whole thing with Curse of Strahd and Weller is going in one direction. You're going towards a mountain. This one's going away from a mountain. So it's basically that's how the campaigns are going. But this was great stuff today. Also, I'm going to assume that Terry had to go, so I am going to say thank you to Terry for wonderful stuff today, and thank you for making the illustrations of those shirts, which someone's wearing right now as we speak. Provided, there you go. And if you would like that too, you should check out !ARV shop, and then you can show your loyalty to the character that you most think is awesome. I'm sure you think they're all awesome, but that's how you get the back of the shirt. Then on the front of the shirt, you can get one for every mood. Maybe sometimes you feel more like Tani, sometimes you feel more like revealing royalty.
Get them all, and then that way you will be able to just
wear them all at the same
time. You just wear them in layers and then peel them off like onions.
Nice. You're like, you thought I was this. That's awesome.
Everything off screen, so this is delightful.
This is good stuff. Thank you so much to the wonderful players. Chat, can we get some love for our players, please? Thank you so much to Trendane, to Will, to Terry, and to Amal. Definitely follow Terry on all the things, by the way, because again, she's starting to draw again, and obviously her illustrations speak for themselves. You'll also see her back here doing the game book illustrations again next month, as well as with Adventures of Middle-earth. Everybody, thank you all so much. Players, you're awesome, and I will see you in February. Bye for now.
Bye.
All right, so that is going to do it for today. That was a really fun session because I knew it was going to be a little bit of a quieter session, but a serious session because there's a lot of stuff being talked about, and now the party is ready to go on its last journey as part of Wilderland Adventures. Now we'll see, there's a lot sort of in front of them, and we will see how they, in this last adventure, we'll see how they all come out of it, but, you know, they have a chance to do so, and so I am hoping that they will be able to manage it, and that things will work out for them, because of course I like this party as much as all of you do. What do you call a vet who can only treat one species? Finding a reptile vet. Oh, good timing on the wrap up. All right, well, good luck. Let us know about this, Coven, and hopefully you'll be back by the time my Pen and Pixel starts at 4 p.m. so you can update us on that. A vet who can only treat a physician. Nice. Well done. I like that. It's good stuff, Arno. But that's going to do it for me. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this. And I hope you folks did as well. And of course, there's more where this came from next month. But that is going to do it for today for this channel. And it's going to do it for tabletop stuff for this channel. So that will, of course, all reset next month as long as you continue to support the Patreon and or sub to the channel. And I hope you will consider doing so. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to follow the channel. Check out the YouTube at !ArvTube, the Discord with !ArvCord, the Twitter with !ArvTweets. Don't forget the website for all of this is arvanelaron.com. On the financial side of things, the shop is !ArvShop, where you can get that material that we just were showing off, those shirts with all the cool things on them. That is available there. Also, there is, of course, Infinity and Beyond material there too, and soon we're going to have other stuff there for Esper Genesis, so that's what's coming up in the near future. The Patreon is !ArvTreon, thank you, Arudnell, which is right there, currently sitting at 303. That really is the financial backbone of the channel, so moving that higher is really going to help in terms of what we can do here on the channel. So please consider jumping on board to support that. That also gives you inspirations. It can also, depending on how much you support, give you a copy of one of my band's albums. It can get you an epic poem like the one that you heard me read to Amal for Amal earlier today. You can also get, I've got character backgrounds that are going to be done for Coven Guy and for Echo, which is going to be happening sometime next month. So we got a lot of that stuff going on. So that's the deal with that. And then the last thing I need to mention is the subs, which is that right above that video window, you can see the sub button. We're sitting right now at about 47 or 48 subs. Would love to see that get north of 50 again, because again, that really does make a difference in terms of the support that the channel is able to receive. You can also get custom emotes to use here, there, and everywhere across the Twitches and Twitters, plus custom sub badges, which you get to use right here, like the coveted red or bronze or silver or blue badges. So please consider jumping on board with those. Last, I want to mention on the publishing side, Forbidden Library is now officially out. It has been released in PDF form to all the backers. Within the next, either today or tomorrow, it is going to be going up live on, I believe, I think it's Drive Through RPG that it's going to be going up live on. I'll try to figure out that. But if you want a copy of my 5e adventure sourcebook, Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library, along with contributions from multiple authors, many of whom you've seen play games on this channel, then you will want to check that out. It is also going to be coming out in print. It will be sent to the printer in the next few days, and then will be back to us in I think about 5 weeks or so. So we're looking at the end of February, early March for getting the print edition in our hands. But it will be available in PDF before that. And yes, Arudno has the PDF, so he can speak to that. Yeah, the art came out really, really well. I was really happy with how well the art came out. And we did a lot of, troubleshooting and editing on it. If you do have a copy of it, by the way, and you notice that there's a typo that you found somewhere, we tried to go over it with a fine-tooth comb, but there's a lot of pages in the book and a lot of different things going on with it. So if you see anything, please let us know, get in touch with me or get in touch with the folks over at the Kickstarter or let us know somehow in Discord. And I will do what I can to let them know. We would love to know that in the next few days because then we can send it before it goes off to the printer so that we can kind of make that as well. On working a Rudinell into the style. Yeah, there you go, man. It's good stuff. I'm excited. I'm glad that worked out. So that's Forbidden Library, exclamation point library. Icarus and Jelinek are making serious progress. Jelinek is already finished. Icarus is well into its production cycle, which is great. Art looks amazing. I cannot wait to share it with all of you, and that is going to be coming out probably in May. So again, that's exclamation point Icarus for details about that. And last but certainly not least, of course, is the Greyshade Kickstarter, exclamation point Greyshade KS, which is going to give you information about the Kickstarter that's going to be launching in March. We will be announcing the date for that launch in February, and then again, it will be launching in March. That will have the novels, it will have the tabletop game, it will have the board game, and it will have even the audiobook by Trendane. So we've got a lot of stuff going on, which is going to be super exciting. I can't wait for that project to get launched and underway. But that's going to do it for me. I hope everyone had a good time today as much as I did. I really enjoyed this. I will be over on GOG for Pen and Pixels at 4 p.m. I will be playing The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. I'll actually be picking up on my save game, which is halfway through. So I'll be picking up about 75 hours in. I don't remember any of what I was doing, so I'll have to go through those question marks and figure out what the hell I was doing. But I'm looking forward to that. It should be a good time. And there may even be a couple of surprises relating to the lunar sale over there too, so you'll want to stop by for that. But that's going to do it for me for now. Otherwise, after that, I will not be back here until Friday evening when I will be back playing some Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. That's it for me, and I hope everyone had a good time today. Thank you so much to those of you who inspired and did all the support for all the things. No raid today because, again, we'll be over at GOG in a couple of hours, so I will just say thank you all. Au revoir. Best viewers on Twitch, as I've said many times, and I will see all you lovely people soon. Until then, everyone be good to each other. Have a good night.